Okay, our next agenda item is to approve the agenda. Does anybody have any changes, additions, deletions? Anything on consent that you want pulled?
Yes. Mrs. Scott, can you please remind me, we're going to pull the transportation contract, right?
Yes, the Discovery Charter.
And which number is that?
M21.
Okay. We just have a correction on that.
There's some corrections on some of the contracts, but we can just tell you later. We don't have to hold it. Right? It's not a big correction.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, you're not here.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to move that we approve the agenda as presented with the exception of M21.
Second.
You get
Yes.
started.
Yes.
Yes.
First,
Yes.
Yes.
Always, okay.
Is there any members that would like to be recognized as visitors? You can come up to the podium, introduce yourself, and no. Okay, we're going to move on to public comments and presentations, and our first one is to wish our former president and board member, Ray Rodriguez, thank you for your service.
No, Mike. Yes, speaker. Oh, Mike, okay. Well, thank you, President DeLay, and congratulations on your presidency. And Board of Trustees and audience and the Rodriguez family. So I wanted to share a few things about Trustee Rodriguez and my experience over the past 8 years of working with Ray. And we have an honor that will be flown over the Capitol. And I'm going to start the evening by sharing a little bit of what we'll be flying over the state capitol. So it's a certificate of recognition honoring Raymond Rodriguez. So Senator Dianne Feinstein will be flying a flag over the Capitol building dedicated to Mr. Rodriguez's service to education as a member of the Samuel High School District Board of Trustees. A certificate of authenticity will accompany his flag, which will be delivered later. At the request of Senator Dianne Feinstein, this flag will be flown for Mr. Raymond Rodriguez in recognition of his service to Samuel High School District as a member, clerk, and president of the Board of Trustees for Samuel High School District. So I only think it's fitting that we get an opportunity to say a few remarks about your milestone. So it is with great honor and my privilege to share a few words on behalf of the Samuel High School District regarding Trustee Ray Rodriguez. For the past 8 years, Trustee Ray Rodriguez not only served as a trustee and board president faithfully, but truly made a difference in the lives of our students and staff. Trustee Rodriguez's focus on equity is not only felt by current Samuel High School students, but will prove to be a legacy for generations to come. Our facilities, our processes, and our procedures have all improved due to Trustee Rodriguez's attention to detail and focus on equitable practices for all. During his 8 years on the board, Trustee Rodriguez helped to achieve many milestones while a member of the Board of Trustees. First and foremost, passage of not one but 2 bond measures. Second, building of state-of-the-art wrestling and PE weight room facility. 3, 8 consecutive balanced budgets. 4, improved access for students to take AP courses, resulting in the largest percentage of students in the history of the district taking advanced placement courses. 5, remaining solvent during the lean recession years. 6, helping to shape our process to address student behavior in an equitable manner. And 7, approving the hiring of many outstanding young educators who are now developing to the next generation of educational leaders. I'm sure that there are more accomplishments that Trustee Rodriguez has been a part of during his time as a trustee, but there is no greater accomplishment than knowing that you have made a difference in the lives of our students. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, President DeLay. I gotta get used to saying that. situated here. Tonight it's my honor to present Mr. Raymond Rodriguez with a token of our appreciation, which is his own gavel. If I can open this here. Which, he may choose to use at home. But it's a beautifully decorated box with the gavel here, and then Mr. Rodriguez, if you figure out what you would like to have placed on your gavel, of the household, whatever you choose, you bring it back and we can have it engraved. It actually goes around your gavel. But you can cherish this, you can use it. I do have a few words to say about former President Rodriguez. A couple of funny stories, or one of them at least. The first night that I was hired, we walked out together, and my son says, "Dad, I can see that guy going pee in the restroom." And Mr. Rodriguez at the time started to tell me about how he felt strongly that we should not have that in place, and that maybe that was one of the challenges that I could face. And I'm happy to say that with his help and, on the board, we have now made our boys' restrooms a lot more comfortable, private, modest, and I think that's may not seem like a huge accomplishment to many, but it's a huge accomplishment to the dignity of our students, and that is his credit. You've often heard Mr. Rodriguez say some things around the lines of that he doesn't have a degree. And I get a bit emotional about this because in many ways, Mr. Rodriguez reminds me of my father. And my father has a 6th grade education and is one of the smartest men that I know, and worked at a very high level for many, many, many years. And it just goes to show, Mr. Rodriguez, that you can accomplish what you put your mind to. And I'm happy and proud to call you a friend. Just last night I was scrolling through Facebook and saw our kids wrestling in that beautiful new wrestling facility that I know was your dream. And as Mr. Tenenbaum said, for many, many, many years, probably well past our lifetimes, our students will benefit from your actions. And I have learned volumes from you. Sometimes those volumes are hard to learn, but I appreciate them. And you have taught me a tremendous amount. So it's with pride, humbleness that I thank you for all of the work that you've done and for the impact that you've made on our high school. So thank you. It doesn't seem like a lot, but thank you very much for all you've done. And I'm going to leave your master gavel up here. And I know there's a few people that want to say some more words, so thank you for your service, sir.
Well, good evening. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Adrian Ramirez. I'm the principal here at the high school, and I've known Trustee Rodriguez, Mr. Rodriguez. I've known him before he was a board member, well before when he was sitting in these seats and as a student, really as a student advocate, and really standing up for a lot of student issues. So before I became in administration, I got to know him from interactions. I had the pleasure of working with his sons and his grandkids, a couple of his grandsons. So I just want to. There's a lot of similarity of my experience with Mr. Rodriguez as far as my time with him. We weren't always sitting on the same side of the table. In fact, early on, we were sitting on the opposite side of the table. But what I want to say, which was really good, we were able to, grow a very profound respect for each other. Didn't always agree on everything, but definitely what I really appreciate, Trustee Rodriguez, is that you said what had to be said. You never sugarcoated anything with me specifically, but you pushed me to look at things in a way that we hadn't looked at them before, and they were always from a, they were always from a student-centered perspective. I can tell all of our students that are sitting in the audience, you have benefited greatly from his time as a school board member. I can tell you that firsthand from different ways that he's influenced the way that we've done things here at this school that have ensured that they are student-centered and that all students have access to not only curriculum and education, but all the other opportunities that revolve around the high school. And so this time that you have off is well-deserved. I know you have grandchildren, and I'm not going to be surprised if I see you here talking to me or asking me or pushing me about an issue. But I really appreciate it. I say this often, I grew up in a household of very high accountability, but a lot of support. You've always supported me. You've never taken it easy on me, and I really appreciate and respect that about you. So congratulations on your tenure, and your grandkids are going to get their grandfather to spend a lot more time with them. So thank you and congratulations.
Ray, as a fellow board member, I think this board and this entire community owes you a huge debt of gratitude. More than a lot of the students here that are just here now can appreciate. Ray to me is the epitome of a really good school board member. He always worked his tail off. He did his homework. As the president, he kind of guided this board through some kind of up and down times. And I think all of us, certainly the three of us that were with him, as well as Evelyn Morrow, I think we really appreciated how that you subtly led us in a direction that we had to go. You showed off excellent negotiating skills, and I really thank you for negotiating and navigating this board through some, like I say, some kind of up and down times. It's not always easy being a school board member. There's a few issues that come up for the first couple hours. We're here every evening, every Tuesday evening, that we have to talk about and deal with, kind of issues that have to do with personnel behind the scenes, and it's not always easy to deal with. And Ray, you did an excellent job, I think, of leading this board, like I say, through some difficult times, coming out on the other end, I think, strong. If it weren't, I'd like to echo what the other administrators said. Frankly, if it weren't for the requirement that you have to be dead to have a building named after you, I think you probably deserve to have that Wade Wrestling room named after you. I don't think that building, we've been talking about that building for over a decade, for sure. And it's only because of your tenacity that it's there today. All of us are going to benefit from that. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank both you and Monica for having so many kids, putting them through this district. It's your experience, I think, with your own children that led the two of you to be such advocates on behalf of students, and always reminding us that it has to be a student-centered institution. And so, we're going to miss you. Hats off to you, and thank you for your years of service, and I hope that you won't ignore us in the future. Thank you.
I already told Ray that I already miss him because I received my agenda.
And I had a question, and I thought, oh, wait a minute. I better not call him right now. Let him rest a little bit. But Ray, I want to say thank you. I spent 38 years at this place teaching. I wore a lot of hats. I was the president of the Teachers Union for 8 years, chief negotiator for 7. So I was at the other side. I've never, the board was something else, another universe away from me. Then I joined the board after spending 21 years as the director of activities, and my gosh, what an appreciation I have for you. Ray would take things and make sense out of them. I was the new guy on the board, and I keep saying that so you guys don't forget that. After 2 years, I still feel new. But he would show me a different view of what I thought was plain and simple. Say, you got to look at it from this side. And man, did he make sense. I also appreciate all the work you did for our community. Measure G, I think, could be called the Rodriguez measure because you really did delivered a lot of things door to door. At a time when I wasn't sure that I put a sign on my lawn and I did I did minimal. You were out there walking precincts to make sure it passed. So the first 40.2 million, I mean, let's face it, you had a lot to do with getting that. And now we have another measure, Measure U, and we're heading in that direction. And that one had a lot more support, a lot more workers. But Measure G, I don't think, because as a teacher, I didn't hear the organized effort behind it. And so I really appreciate what you did with that. And then the other one is the Baylor Education Foundation. I can't tell you enough about that. I received a call from Ray when I was nominated, and I go, what? Me? Are you kidding? And he was good. Yeah, we're gonna, do this. And I had remembered that every senior parents night, here was Ray coming up before the parents to remind them that they could probably put all their money together and buy a brick, so that eventually we could make $1 million and we could live off the interest and help out education. Many of our teachers and our students have benefited from grants from that organization. And I look at the pictures up there on our wall, and I see what you guys have done, and it's really beautiful. So thank you for the Baylor Education Foundation and what you did to promote that. The wrestling room. My son came down for 2 days just to go wrestle in that room. Now, at least I think that way, because I don't think he would have driven all the way from San Diego just to visit me. I think he wanted to go in there, and he spent 2 or 3 hours wrestling there and coaching, and he walked away saying, man, that is one beautiful place. It's better than colleges. He was just impressed. My son wrestled for the school for 4 years, and he had to wrestle in the old wrestling rooms. He hit his head one time on that wall, so that wall was very close when that happened. So anyway, thank you for the wrestling room. I know all the work you did. Like I said, being the new man on the board, I had to learn all these things. Anyway, I agree with our superintendent and Sean that you have left a legacy here, and it's going to be something. We're going to remember all you did for our community. And I don't know. The question I want to ask is, did you ever sleep? Because he drove all the way to work at the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center, and that is not around the block. So you drove that way, and sometimes I'd still see you here at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'd see you at places, and I'd wonder, where did the man get to rest? Because we left this meeting at 11:30 last night. He went to work, and now he's back again. So you are a hard worker, and I'll tell you, we're going to miss you, and I appreciate all you did for our community. Thank you.
I'm going to keep mine brief because I think everybody has already said all the things that Ray has done, and I agree with everything that has been said. Ray, you've been a great supporter of the school, of the district, of the board. And as the incoming president, I'm a little scared to follow in your footsteps because you did such an excellent job. So I may be calling on you to get some advice I do consider you a friend. Hopefully we can stay in touch. It's not the end of our relationship. But I want to wish you the best, and I'm going to miss you a lot up here with us. So, congratulations.
I am typically kind of an emotional guy, but I promise you guys I've had kind of the flu lately, so I may sniffle. If you don't believe me, after all these years, one of my sons commutes with me and he makes me hang my head out the door so he's not breathing my air.
I'm glad you're not sitting next to us tonight, then.
And that leads right into, you know, people mentioned the PE facility, and I think it was a 13-year trek to get it going, and I don't know if I deserve all the credit other than keeping it on the forefront. And so, Bill, I don't know if that's a challenge, but there's probably a couple of people in the room who would like to see me dead and then put my name on the building. And also, it's obvious that I'm not the board president anymore because I did email all 3 board members that sat on the board with me and said, we don't need a love fest tonight. And obviously, they didn't listen. You know, I do consider it an honor to serve your community. And I'm proud of some of the things the board did while we were there. And so most of these are board accomplishments, not Ray accomplishments. I'm very proud that we implemented A through G default graduation requirements, allowing our students a default path to college. For many years, I complained that this district didn't send enough of its kids to college, didn't prepare enough of its kids to go to college. And I think there's a continuing goal to increase that number that are qualified and the number that apply and the number that go year in and year out. And I think our principals up to the task and the challenge. Believe it or not, 5 of my 7 kids were never, this is going to sound a little negative, but 5 of my 7 kids were never approached by a counselor to have a discussion about going to college. There were assumptions made about the kids. I think we've turned it around, and now the assumption is that all of our kids deserve the opportunity to go to college. And all of our kids as freshmen are very smart kids, but maybe shouldn't be placed in the position of deciding day 1 of their freshman year or day 182 of their 8th grade year, well, I'm not going to go to college anyway, so I won't take those courses. So I think we increased students' services expectations to support the A through G move and to provide students with the support needed to make decisions regarding their educational path forward. All the board deserves the credit. Our administration deserves that credit. As people have said, we maintained a balanced budget throughout the entire time. Steve should be most proud of this during the recession. During the whole time I was on the board. Again, this was done with little impact on the services that the students would directly receive, namely their teachers. I don't believe a single teacher was laid off during that time. That is unheard, maybe I'm wrong, but it's unheard of during those tough times. In appreciation for working through the difficult times with us, the board provided a 2-year series of salary increases to our staff, 6% one year and 4% in another. Throughout the recession, and this predates me, it's part of our contract, but we were able to do it and balance our budget. Throughout the recession and the entire time that I've served, the board maintained our teachers' compensation in the top 3 compared with like districts. And I believe, actually, number 1. The board has tracked discipline rates and interventions. Discipline and what I believe was poor implementation of discipline got me involved in this. It turned me into a student community advocate. The district's suspension and expulsion rate is down over the entire time that I was on the board. I will divulge a little bit of closed session conversation. A lot of people say, kid had dope at school, automatic expulsion. Kid had a knife at school, automatic expulsion. Why didn't the board expel him for having a knife? The board, people don't understand, by Ed Kukin, only, our attorney can tell me different, can only expel for 2 reasons. That after that hearing, you decide that repeated efforts to address the specific behavior have failed, number 1. Or number 2, that the student is a continuing danger to themselves, the school itself, or other students. I honestly believe that before I was on the board, this wasn't part of the discussion. And I trust that it will continue to be part of the discussion. I know that I don't have to pound it on the table and make sure that we can satisfy one of those 2 conditions anymore. The people that served with me over the last 5 or 6 years have held the district accountable for that. It's probably what I'm most proud of. The district's college going rate is up over this time and still on the rise, with goals to increase this each year. Principal Ramirez, I will continue to hold you accountable for that. I believe that the trustees that served with me would agree. This is the one thing where I will maybe put a feather in my own cap. That I spearheaded changing the vision that allowed the board to move forward with the much needed facility improvements specifically supported by Measure G. Like Trustee Robledo joined the board and talked about following his grandkids around with softball, I told the board over and over again, I go to the Clovises of the world, the Lemores of the world, and I look at the school facilities, not only the athletic facilities, but the school facilities that those communities, through community bonds, provide to their kids, and the pride that their kids have in those schools. And then the academic achievements that comes from that pride. And why not our kids? Look at one of these kids and say, why not you? Why not our kids? I think we broke that bubble, because before that, this community believed that the school had all the money it needed in the world. The school took a lot of pride in figuring out ways to keep things going. God bless them. But eventually, you tipped the scales to the negative, and we were at that point well before Measure G. The board has provided one of the highest facilities priorities, the air conditioning of all our classrooms, allowing our teachers to focus on their students and the students to focus on their studies. Again, believe it or not, San Benito High School teachers, they lined up at this podium and they said, air conditioning, air conditioning, air conditioning. They provided studies. They did, when they were at their wits' end, their president called me and I said, well, I agree with you. I'm worried about how much it's going to cost, but our students deserve it. Our staff deserves to work in an environment where they're not distracted by the heat. I suggested they file a Williams complaint. We don't get much credit for that. I even gave them a resource that had worked on the original Williams Act. Just a show of support that we have for everybody. Another thing that I'm very proud of is this board has learned to reach out to other government agencies and work and improve education, safety, and sustainability over my term. This is exemplified by the work to address Nash Road that Superintendent Perales has spearheaded since joining us. Continued discussion on joint use of facilities such as our new tennis court and the possibility of an aquatic center that no single entity can currently afford. I'm not heartbroken over losing an election. I lost an election before I won my first term and recovered well from that, okay? But when I ran the first time, a county supervisor pulled me out by the back of my neck when I said this community cares more about tomatoes than it does about our students, because we block roads willy-nilly. When Superintendent Perales was eating at a restaurant that's across the street from the canneries and saw them pulling a sign across the road and closing it with no fanfare, he sent a picture out and said, what the heck, nicely. I don't think it was what the heck. But it's true, and the supervisor says that district is going to do what they're going to do. We don't agree with anything. We're not going to cooperate with them, essentially was the message I got. And some city councilmen, people at the time told me the same thing. So I'm glad that we're mending those fences. One of our new superintendent's earliest set of goals was to improve our staff morale. I believe this displays a sense that the board cared and realized that poor morale would spill over to the work product, and we asked Mr. Perales to address this as quickly as possible. I don't think anyone would challenge that he's done that. One of my first conversations, this is one that I think the district needs to continue to work on. One of my first conversations with Mr. Perales, and one that I've had with many administrators, is something that I choose to call institutional ego. If we're gonna get the community to buy in with us, if we're ever gonna get to that 66 2/3 and do a bigger bond and have a second high school, which our students deserve, then we need to get over our institutional ego and welcome people from the outside. After all, our school is a public institution governed by the public, not an employment institution with no accountability to its stakeholders. When a person from the public walks in, whether they have a degree, whether they ever went to school, whether they're an immigrant, whether they're documented, no matter what, they should be welcomed. This school is much more welcoming than it used to be. They should be appreciated, and their thoughts and their feelings shouldn't be challenged. This needs to be worked on. Too many times, we're trying to find a way to disprove what they say instead of trying to find a way to appreciate their engagement. Over and over again, we say, and I believe the number one thing that a school board can do to improve a student's education is put the best possible teacher in front of them. And then over and over again, it's like a double-edged sword, because people in the classroom will tell me the number one thing we can do to improve the student performance is engage the parents. And then when the parents walk in, it's a challenge. Our principal does a very good job with our community. Others do, some don't. I'll leave the board with that challenge. Lastly, I and my family paid dearly for my participation as a board member. My children, my wife, and I were all strategically targeted at one time or another, but I stubbornly kept on. To this day, I hope that in a small part, because of some of these efforts, San Benito High School will be a better place for my grandchildren and for all students to come. This is my parting challenge to this existing board and those to come. Please take up this task.
Okay, next item on the agenda is to introduce CSEA Chapter 173, Executive Council.
So good evening, trustees and President DeLay once again. It's my honor this evening to introduce our new executive council. And what we're going to do, just to kind of explain the format, is each member is going to be introduced by a different administrator other than myself. I'm going to start out with you two. We're going to say a few words. We'd like each of them to come up to introduce themselves to the board. And the purpose tonight for doing this is to set the stage and build the foundation for many years of strong productivity and collaboration between the district and CSEA Chapter 173. So without further ado, it's my honor to introduce Honor Spencer as our president. Honor's been on our campus for many years, since 1998. As a campus supervisor, I'm sure every student in the room has an idea of who she is and heard her voice, because I know I have. But I think one of the things that she's accomplished throughout her career is her perseverance and her dedication to lifelong learning. She earned her degree at Arizona State University while working full-time here, and continuing to pursue her education to be that much better. Not only was she pursuing her education, but really striving to meet our students' needs with that positive attitude, that fun spirit, that Baylor spirit that she has every day. We wish her a great tenure as the president. We congratulate her and look for many years to come. Ms. Honor Spencer.
Nice picture. Thank you very much. I tried to write a speech, but I'm not good at doing that stuff. I'm just going to speak from the heart. This is something I have thought about doing, becoming the president of CSEA for a while. What stopped me from doing it was my education. That was my utmost important duty at the time. But now that I've done that, it is my honor love that, to be the president and to work very closely with the board, with Mr. Perales, with Mr. Tannenbaum, to better our school and, oops, sorry about that, to better the school. I don't know if I can do it much better. Mr. Rodriguez has done a heck of a job, and I know I can't follow in his footsteps. But I do thank you guys. Bear with me. I'm here for you, and thank you.
So our next executive council representative is Ms. Terry Embry. She's our vice president of CSEA Chapter 173. And Terry and I have worked very closely together over the years at the negotiating table, whether it be negotiating new contracts, MOUs, side letters to address issues, concerns on both ends. Her practicality and her level of understanding of that process is tremendous. She's been an employee since 1989. She's been a bus driver. She's worked in food service and currently works as a campus supervisor. But I think one of the things that is really going to set her tenure apart as the vice president is her experience and her proven track record at really finding solutions to very complicated problems that sometimes we often ignore and we don't necessarily address. So without further ado, Ms. Terry Embry.
Terry Embry, I've worked with most of you. Hi, Steve. I'm not a public speaker. I'm looking forward to building bridges and moving forward.
Okay, good evening again. I have the pleasure of introducing our CSEA Secretary, Sherry Cosio. And if you want to come on up, Sherry. In my tenure here, I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Mrs. Cosio in Student Services, and I think all students and many families that have had past students and current students know Sherry as that welcoming face. It's very important to me as the principal that when folks step onto campus that there's a very good first impression in terms of being welcomed. Sherry is been here well before I was, and I'm very happy that she brings the perspective from Student Services. Our classified employees really need you guys, need you and the rest of the board, and we're really happy to have you. So congratulations.
Thank you for this opportunity to be introduced tonight. I've been here a long time, as Adrian said. I love the kids, I love my position, and I hope we do well.
I have the pleasure of introducing Francis Vargas. Francis works in the business office with me, and we kind of started at the same time, so we have a kindred spirit going on here in 2013. I think she's most famous as the keeper of the keys. And Frances does a good job in everything she does and has really stepped up this year, taken on not only CSEA, she's on school site council now, and is just really involved, and I appreciate it. And I think it's exciting, and both organizations will do well with Frances at the helm.
Thank you, President. I'm looking forward to holding this position, and bear with me, I'm new, so I hope to do good. Thank you.
And I have the great honor of introducing Reina Hernandez. If you come on up here, Reina. Reina Hernandez and I work together. We've worked together for the last 4 years. She's an instructional assistant, intelligent, dedicated to our school, has been here for a long time. Not only do you see her during the school day, but you'll see her after school dedicating herself to translating for parents and the commitment to our families. You'll see her at the ticket booth. And the most impressive thing about Reina is her kindness. She's the most kind-hearted, incredibly pure person that you will ever meet. She's also incredibly intelligent, always looking after more training, getting to know more challenges. She's not afraid of anything. So you have a beautiful, well-rounded board, and Reina, you really do round it completely.
So we do have one more gentleman that I'll introduce, and that is Wayne Powers, and he's not part of the Executive Council, but he is the Chief Job Steward. And Wayne and I have worked together for many years regarding different items to support staff to be successful in and out of their positions. I know he's not here tonight, but I did want to mention, that he is a CSEA Job Steward, and with not only Wayne, but the entire Executive Council, we look forward to a real positive and productive relationship, and I wish you the best in the years to come as we work together to meet the needs of our staff. So congratulations to all.
Next, it's my, ladies, why don't you stay right there for a few seconds? I'm going to introduce the president of our Teachers Association, Dr. Foster. Dr. Foster.
Actually, why don't we all come up here? We're going to go real quickly. We've practiced this routine over dinner. and I'm not first, actually. So.
All right, so I'm Mike Schrag. I'm filling in for Mark Krause, who is the vice president of our Teachers Association. And so, but he couldn't be here. He had knee surgery, and he kind of overdid it, so he's not able to make it here tonight. But I also just wanted to say, just thank you, Ray, for everything you've done, for the services. I've worked with you through, Baylor Ed Foundation, working with you for many years, worked with your kids, and worked with you with Measure G. And thanks for all your effort for our community and for our school and for everything that you've done for us. And so, I also just want to say, I'm looking forward to a continued great relationship with the school board and the teachers union. And I want to pass it on to Michelle.
Hi, Michelle Lasaga. I'm the treasurer of the Teachers Association. On behalf of the association, we want to welcome Patty and John. We're so happy to see you here on the board. We're looking forward to good communication. We are available to you. We might not always come to the meetings because we're correcting papers, etc. But feel free to contact us anytime, and congratulations. This is Melissa Peters, our membership chairperson.
Hi, I'm Melissa Peters, membership for the Executive Council and CTA. We just wanted to congratulate everyone who was elected for the Executive Council on the CSEA. The Teachers Association started with some of our administration, the consult process, and it's been really productive for us, and we really hope that you take that forward and that it's really productive for you as well. And this is Mr. Bill Johnson.
I'm Bill Johnson. I'm working with the negotiations negotiations team. And I just want to say that over the years, it's been a pleasure working, trying to continue to make the conditions here better, to make our teachers do the kinds of things that they can do, make it better, and also continuing what was said earlier is that the relationship that has been begun or has really improved the morale. And so I think that that's really been successful. We're looking forward to negotiating another contract and looking forward to working with the board and the negotiators from the administration. This is Tim Hammer, who's on the school site council.
Good evening, board members. I'd like to congratulate the new members of the board. I'd like to wish best to those departing the board. You have much to be commended for, Trustee Rodriguez. School site council, I expect to be up here again at some point. So discussing the SIPSA, student plan for student achievement, so on. It's been interesting so far on the school site council.
In a good way, right?
Yes, very much so. Well, that's why I joined, because I was interested in finding out more about how the school works. So, with regards to what I've seen in my 6 short years here, I think that things have just been on the up, just continuing trending up, and I really look forward to seeing that continue. I really look forward to it. So, congratulations again, and I look forward to seeing you again.
And finally,
Catherine Foster.
oh yeah, for anybody who doesn't know who I am. So yeah, it's very exciting. We're so looking forward to working together, and now we have another leg to stand on our stool and so on, and it's just really a very optimistic time, and congratulations board members, and congratulations to President Rodriguez on his retirement. And so, yeah, good evening. Thank you.
All right, we have one public comment tonight, Ray Rodriguez. Ray, you're up.
Okay, new phase. I realize I don't have as much time. Superintendent Perales put on his Facebook a statement on November 17th regarding the respect and the worries that students have at this time. And, you know, as people said, processes and procedures are terrible. I don't know if I should take credit for processes and procedures in public comment with the state of our current policies, but hopefully they're on the mend. So without going into detail, I do some work with, and I've always said processes and procedures should survive the individual. So, you know, I honor Superintendent Perales for putting this statement on. I'm going to suggest the board back their superintendent up and make a resolution. I leave the number open and up to you, and a couple of numbers I would ask you to fill in. But it's a resolution from San Benito High School District with a commitment to the education of all students, regardless of their documented status or not, is the focus of it. But we could expand it to, we're talking about, you know, transgender, gay, bisexual right now as well, and it all fits in. And I would like to see the board step up as one of their first actions, and I'm requesting that you place this on your next agenda for consideration. And I will give each one of you a copy, and I don't take much credit for it. The districts in, several districts throughout the state have done it. Like I said, I do some work with it, or I'm associated with a group called Californians Together, and they suggested that school board members pass this resolution. I haven't asked you to do this, but I'll probably they suggest that you Then forward the resolution to your state assembly and senate.
Your group is Californians for what?
Together. I can send you, if you want me, I can forward you an email from them that has more details on resources relative to this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Ray. Okay, the next item is report actions taken in closed session. We took no actions. And then the next one is take action regarding student matters.
We have one expulsion hearing, and this is with respect to student number 12.06.16.005. I would move that we follow the principal's recommendation, and that is to expel the student for 2 semesters, but to have that expulsion suspended, subject to the student being on a standard behavior contract. And in addition to that, subject to the student regularly attending a substance abuse counseling program, and also subject to the student being subject to random searches in the discretion of the administration.
I second that.
You're the first vote. You can't vote, so it's got to be you.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, next is the approval of minutes, November 15th. Any changes, additions, deletions?
I have a correction. Page 5. When they mentioned Dr. Foster, it says Dr. Fosted in the first line. You see that? Third line.
Yes.
And then a whole lot of things were said about Evelyn, just as a lot of things were said today. Will those be in the minutes, or can we add those to the minutes? Because I thought there was a lot of interesting things. But I'm not sure if that's something to just place in the minutes for future, because there was so many good things that happened. Who spoke? At least who spoke. Because when I look at this, it doesn't give me the essence that we had a lot going on. And today, and what was said today was very important, especially by Mr. Rodriguez. I think those have to be in the minutes so that we don't forget them. And I hope they do make the minutes, and especially the comments that he had at the end. But with Evelyn, she had a lot of good things to say, and they were missing from the minutes. You know, or the letter that she had, we could ask her if we could have that letter she read from, include that in the minutes. That would take care of it.
So, what is the board's pleasure?
I think if you can get the letter and attach it, that would be.
I think both with respect to Evelyn and Ray, if we could get their written remarks and attach those like as exhibits to the minutes, I think that would be nice.
With that, I move approval of minutes.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now we're going to move to reports, discussions, and action. I want to remind the presenters that we have received all this information in our packet, the PowerPoints as well as everything else. So what we would ask is that you not read the PowerPoints to us, but you highlight the highs and lows, and you can flash the PowerPoints, but please don't read them to us. We've already read it, so give us the good news and the bad news. But that's it. So the first up tonight is the, oh shoot, we're not ready for that. I thought you were ready for the annual organization for meeting times and dates. So we're gonna do what? You're gonna do this? Yeah.
Sorry, I skipped it too. Board members, with all due respect, I ask that we continue with the same start time of 7 p.m. for our public sessions, 5 p.m. for our closed sessions. But we do respectfully ask that we change our meetings from the first and third Tuesday of the month to the second and last Tuesday of the month. Did I get that right? Thank you. second and last Tuesday of the month. And the rationale for that is that it'll cut back on holiday interruptions and other interruptions with our school calendar. It will make it a lot smoother flowing and keep most of our dates intact. I believe in February we have to move one, but that's about it that I can remember.
No, it's in April.
I'm sorry, in April.
In
Thank
April,
you.
you're gonna have to move either to the first Monday or the third Monday. No, it's got to be the first Monday.
Right.
In order, because then they'll go to spring break. So the first Monday and the last Monday, not Monday, Tuesday in April. Okay.
I believe that's the only conflict, where if we kept the other, we'd have several other conflicts. So with all due respect, I respectfully ask that you approve second and last Tuesdays of the month for this coming year.
Except for April, it'll be the first Tuesday and the last Tuesday.
Right, and we will, every time we meet, we will revamp, and sometimes things come up and we have to change because of unforeseen situations. So we'll always affirm the dates before moving forward.
And you know, this is really good because it does avoid those breaks. And if we just adjust April, we've got it made all the way through.
Yes, sir. I get a motion?
I move to move our meetings to the second and last Tuesday of the month. And in April, it'll be the first and last Tuesday of the month.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna move to L2, FFA National Conference Report. And Don, are you introducing?
Good evening, board members. I want to take a minute to thank all of our FFA representatives here tonight, especially our instructors. I am very proud of all of you. I think I've shared that on many occasions. And as a matter of fact, just a quick funny story. I received a phone call from the superintendent of Campbell High School District, and he was picking my brain about FFA. And then he goes, "Wow, you're like the FFA Administrator of the Year for California." And I said, "Yeah," and he thanked me and recognized me for that. But he said, "So I'm calling the right guy, but now I kind of made a mistake, and I think he wants me to talk to his board, which I don't want to do." But we have an amazing program. We are very proud of you. Just warms my heart to see all of your accomplishments. And also want to thank all of your teachers, Ms. Bianchi, Ms. Kraft, Mr. Martin, all the parents for the support. So with that, I respectfully turn it over to you.
Is the slideshow going to be?
Mr. Lucetta will help you with that.
Okay, thank you very much, and on behalf of Hollister FFA, I'm thankful that you're all here so that we can share our experience that we had from October 20th through the 22nd at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana. So to start off, there were 13 participants from Hollister FFA that attended the National Convention. Only 11 are here now. 2 of them are out sick, sadly. So 11 of us are here to share with you. So the National FFA Convention was 3 days in Indianapolis with 8 general sessions that we attended, with over 65,000 members and guests registered at that convention. There we attended leadership workshops where we were able to hone our leadership skills and learn more so that we can bring back to our chapter. It is called the National Convention and Expo. So there in the Expo Center was the Agri-Science Fair and College Fair, where we were able to meet representatives from universities, trade schools, and other colleges that we all enjoyed seeing and that we were interested in attending. So we were able to have one-on-one conversations with guidance techs or counselors from those schools. At the convention, we were able to meet with our California FFA officers, and along with that, we were able to see the national FFA officers, which lead throughout the whole nation throughout their year of service. Along with that, like I said before, we were able to meet the representatives from universities and colleges and attend workshops. And at the convention, we were able to hear from inspirational speakers, Diana Nayat and Jason Brown, who are agriculturalists that give their story, how they inspire, and how they have goals, and how they were motivated and they had to persevere to achieve their goals. Here's some pictures from the convention. This is all California FFA at the convention. And then here is us, Hollister FFA, our own group picture. Beyond the convention, we were also able to go to other states and do different things there. But in Indianapolis, we were able to go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We were able to take a tour, go around the whole racetrack, and of course we were able to kiss the bricks, which is a tradition there that they have, that the winner has for good luck. We were able to attend the NCAA Museum, which we were able to learn and see all the different history in sports in the United States. Along with that, we were able to go to Washington, D.C. With that bus ride, right when the convention was over, we were able to go through Ohio, Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and when we got there, we were able to tour through Mount Vernon, get a personal tour to the U.S. Capitol, go to the Holocaust Museum, and explore all the different Smithsonian museums and the U.S. Archives in Washington, D.C. Now we would like to give our short little brief personal stories that we can bring back to our chapter in Hollister, what we got from going to the convention.
Hi everyone, I'm John Bianchi. My trip for the National FA Convention was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I had to experience all the FA officers, watching the first general sessions and seeing the 43,000 FA members in the Indiana Pacers play, I don't know what the arena called. But seeing the whole arena packed to the max and with all the blue corduroy jackets was really awesome. And then watching the keynote speakers as well, as Mark touched on. Then watching the installation of the 2016-2017 national officers was pretty cool. It was the sensory overload.
Hi, my name is Isabel Pluto, and I had the great opportunity of going to the National FA Convention in Indianapolis. This is my first time of actually being out of the state of California, really flying. So it was a great opportunity to do with the people that I think are the greatest in the world, and being part of this organization has taught me so much. I think the greatest part of the convention was the last general session where we got to see the installation of the new national officers and to really see the room really light up with a sea of blue jackets. So that was my favorite part.
My name is Dallin King, and I went last year to the National Convention, and this year we went to Indianapolis this year, and I'd say this time, since we went to DC, I think that I really liked DC and going to Mount Vernon and touring Mount Vernon. I really liked that part.
Okay, my name is Tanner Kaysen, and I was also able to go on the National FA Convention. My favorite memory of the National Convention was the first time walking into the stadium and seeing just all of the blue corduroy jackets, and knowing that every single one of these jackets has a different story for each and every individual person that was there. It was a very rewarding experience being able to go, and I appreciate being able to go.
Hello, my name is Samantha Warren, and I had the amazing opportunity to attend the National FFA Convention. My most memorable experience there was walking into the first general session and seeing all of the blue corduroy jackets, knowing that we were all there united to accomplish personal growth, career success, and premier leadership.
Brittany Patterson is one of the members that is sick tonight, but as in the slideshow, one of her favorite things was going to Washington, D.C. and seeing all the different artifacts there. So,
my name is Kyle Cabrera, and my favorite thing over the trip was the Speedway and Mount Vernon and the virtual welders, because the whole technology that's going on in that.
Madison Andrade is also out tonight as well, but her favorite part was going to the career fair and speaking one-on-one with the counselors because she got to get scholarship opportunities for the college she wants to attend, so that was her favorite part of that convention.
My name is Samantha Simmons, and another thing that I loved was the college fair and having people support you throughout your journey, your next journey out of high school, even though they don't even know you. They're so welcoming and hope that you do the best in college and your journey there.
My name is Raylan King, and my favorite part of National Convention this year was being able to see all of the notable speakers, and my favorite speaker was Jason Brown because he has a very inspiring story. He was a pro football player, and instead of playing, he retired from playing football and started his own farm, which he grows sweet potatoes at, and he donates his first crop to whoever's in need that year.
I'm Tyler Myers. I have a couple favorite moments of the trip, but one of them is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and another one that was really good is beating Mr. Martin in the virtual welder.
Hi everyone, my name is Carissa King, and my, not last, National FFA Convention was extremely exciting this year. Going to the Career Expo was a bit of a life-changing experience for me this year. I used to want to be a veterinarian and attend Texas A&M University. After going to the Career Expo and seeing how much fun all of the ag teachers have, going to all the different conventions and conferences, it has made me want to become an agriculture education teacher. So I am I've always looked up to my ag teachers and all teachers coming up from Spring Grove. I've always had that leadership and I've always wanted to do that. I don't know, I wanted to be a vet when I was like 4 years old, and I've always wanted to be that. And then after seeing how much my ag teachers love teaching and how passionate they are for their jobs, it has really changed me. And National Convention definitely pounded that in, and I'm hoping to attend either Cal Poly University or UC Davis to get my ag education degree.
Girl. So my name is Mark Scalmanini, and my favorite experience from National Convention was meeting other people throughout the whole nation that have the common passion for the FFA and agriculture leadership and education, and how they want to strengthen it and embody it in their schools themselves, just as we do, how we want to bring it back to our school. Going to the different workshops, we were able to learn from other state officers from different states, even the national leaders, so that they can leave their mark on us so that we can bring it back to our childhood. Does anybody have any questions about our convention experience?
I did forget to recognize somebody. If she can stand up, she's right behind you. Miss Grissom. You can give her a big hand. She also I don't have any questions. I just Carissa, we'll stay in contact with your family and make sure we are able to hire you when you're ready to teach here.
She was teaching, she was ready to go on fourth grade. She had it
We would also like to put a big thank you out to all the parents that helped pay for our trips, and to Mrs. Simmons, Mrs. Cabrera, Miss Grissom, and my mom, right, I think, and Mr. Martin for putting up with us for the long trip. I know we probably got on your guys' nerves quite a bit, but it was worth it in the long run.
I just want to say to all of you that you have got way more skills than you think you have by going to these conventions. And if you take one little part of whatever you got and move it into your life, it's only going to make you that much stronger. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you because you are excellent speakers. You've done a really good job presenting today, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great job, you guys. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the LGBQT report. Sean.
All right, come on, Ms. Conklin. Okay, good evening again, trustees. So, where is Ms. Conklin? There she is, right there. So, I'm going to have an opportunity here to introduce Rebecca and our work together, and Principal Ramirez's, and many others in the district. You read through the report, but I think it's very fitting that I turn this over to Ms. Rebecca Conklin, who is not only an outstanding English educator for us, but also the president of the GSA club on campus and has done so for many, many years. And we do have a guest speaker here, one of our former students, and we'll share a little bit of his story and the progress we've made as a school district to address issues of awareness on our campus for both staff and students. So without further ado.
Thank you. Alex can speak if you have questions at the end. I thought just for the sake of time that I would just kind of summarize, and I know you have the packet in front of you. So hello, I'm Rebecca Conklin. This is my 13th year teaching at San Benito High School. It's my 12th year as the GSA advisor. GSA stands for Gay Straight Alliance. And my desire to participate in the Cultural Awareness Committee was mainly based on the fact that they were going to be discussing LGBTQ issues, and I felt that I could encourage my students to come, but also, lend a hand in that area, because I've been working with these students for quite some time. So the Cultural Awareness Committee started meeting at the beginning of the year, and it's comprised of students, staff, and administration. And there was a lot of brainstorming, and I felt it was in our best interest to not only focus on the idea of it being an LGBTQ, topic or issues-based situation, but the fact that Title IX is not just about orientation and identity, it's about gender, it's about race, socioeconomic status, and so we have kind of discussed the idea of, after we have, trained and people have gotten comfortable with the idea, the laws, and the procedures surrounding how to support our LGBTQ students, to perhaps branch out and do other topics as well. Just do kind of like mini training sessions based on maybe what the needs are. So our goal is to educate the staff on current issues and laws related to our students. And something that was mentioned many, many times was the need to provide a safe environment for our students, so that everyone feels welcome and safe while they're here. So in terms of the training that we did, we basically went over the laws that have been passed in recent years that are specific to students who fall under LGBTQ. And we also, in terms of, we basically broke it down in terms of the basics. We talked about basic terms, the difference between sex, gender, orientation, and identity, the use of appropriate pronouns when addressing students who identify in certain ways. And then and this is my opinion, but I don't think it's just my opinion, the most powerful part of the presentation was when students came, they stood up, they presented certain parts of the presentation, but they also shared their personal stories, their personal journeys about how they discovered who they are, what it was like to come out, what it's like to be, a student here. Alex, who's here with us tonight, he graduated last year, but he's semi-famous, really. Just the fact that there was an article published about him in June from Benito Link, and I know a lot of people read that. So I feel that in the last 2 years, there's been a lot more awareness placed on our campus, but this presentation really gave us an opportunity to kind of cover all the bases, and I felt personally that it was going to be really important to have the students present and share so that there was context for the staff. Like, here's a student who identifies as this person, and this is how I can help them, this is how I can support them. And I think it was extremely powerful. By the way, the packet that you received omitted the personal information from the students, just based on, I thought it was in our best interest to maintain confidentiality. Because one of the things that we talked about was the fact that some of our students are not able to be out, and they're not necessarily accepted by their family. And they don't feel like they're accepted by the community. So the fact that they were brave enough to stand up and say all these things to a bunch of people that they really didn't know was huge, and I'm so proud of these kids. So in terms of kind of gathering results, we put out a survey that had some open-ended questions regarding people's knowledge and comfortability with dealing with LGBTQ issues, just in terms of basic knowledge, and then, comfortable dealing with said issues in class. And the results were, the thing is, and by the way, I can provide the results to you in more of a spreadsheet form because we had some open-ended questions and there were more detailed responses, but 20% of the certificated staff said that they felt very knowledgeable about laws and procedures and how to treat or how to support students that are LGBTQ. And then about 48% said they were somewhat knowledgeable. So in terms of the fact that we have about 60% of the certificated staff being comfortable addressing issues, I think that's good. But in the open-ended questions, we got a lot of responses about, like, can I have more details about the laws? Can we have more discussion about, how to specifically address things that we see in the classroom? How do we ultimately support these kids? And if you had been there, we had a question and answer session at the end, which was also very powerful because teacher staff were allowed to just ask questions of the students. So they were pretty open and honest about what it was like to go to school, that, how can we support them? And I thought, I don't think I've ever really been to a presentation that allowed students and teachers or staff members to interact in this way. And I thought it was a really positive experience. One thing that I will say, and I'm not necessarily saying this is a negative, but the classified results, because we did two different surveys, and the classified results showed that about 15% were very knowledgeable and 40% somewhat knowledgeable about being able to provide support. And I think a lot of that, and this is also in some of the open-ended questions, that a lot of people mentioned that they don't interact directly with students all the time. And some people are just not comfortable because we do have, obviously, lots of staff members that are not in contact with students all day long. So that might be some reason why they don't feel comfortable. But I do feel that in terms of next steps, we kind of talked about this, but based on the fact that the people who filled out the survey were very clear about their needs, I feel that the district needs to address the fact that they actually want more training and they want more experiences like we had, where it was interactive and you could actually get the answers right then and there. I think it might be surprising to you that our students are actually that comfortable and that courageous to stand in front of hundreds of people that they don't know and speak their truth. But that's what happened, and I thought it was awesome. So in terms of next steps, definitely I think we need to continue information and training. And we need to decide on the next topic that we're going to address. But that's pretty much what I have to say. And I want to just do a side note because this is not related to the awareness committee, but the GSA, some of the students and I attended the County Board of Supervisors meeting a month ago because they were talking about drafting a resolution of building general acceptance of the LGBTQ community in Hollister. And what that has led to is we met with County Mental Health last week. They have funding that's available that they're interested in basically giving these kids what they need. So when the kids mentioned support groups and staffing a safe place and like the fact that the kids are willing to volunteer, all of that was very well received. They're going to be writing up the paperwork to kind of process that. And so for the first time in Hollister, as far as I'm aware, we will eventually have a safe place and support groups available to our students who identify as LGBTQ. It's new, and I'm really excited for these kids to have a place outside of this school to go, because we are not open 24/7. So I'm excited about that. I don't know if you have any questions for me or if you'd like to talk to Alex, but that's pretty much it.
Any questions? I mean, a brief one. You had mentioned that you had information like what the staff wants. So is there a way that we can get what the staff wants, or somehow that
Absolutely.
we have an idea?
I didn't want to compile everything and and hand it out if you didn't want. It's all anonymous, so I can just compile
like what they would need. Therefore, we can
absolutely
board on how to help them.
I can get that to you because just have like a spreadsheet of responses. Absolutely. Anything else, Mr. Robledo?
You mentioned that even though they're presenting, the families don't know, they haven't come out. Do you provide any assistance when people come out?
Do I personally or the club?
Do they have counselors that help them?
We do. I mentioned this to County Mental Health last week. That we used to, like Mr. Farrow used to do a group specifically for students of this population. It's not to say that we can't have that again. I don't believe it's happening at this moment. My club meets once a week in my classroom at lunch. I have a lot of students who come to me on all other times just to hang out. I think that, obviously anyone and everyone could benefit from having something more specific in terms of that. It's without...
Is something provided for families? Because I know in my personal experience, when a brother, my nephew came out, his own family had trouble with it. Mm-hmm. His own mom practically disowned him. His own brother came out with words to describe him. And now, years later, it's a totally different atmosphere. They've accepted it, and it's so beautiful to see that. And if people could avoid the dangers that occur at the beginning, somehow or other pad those up a little bit so that people don't get hurt. Because there's going to be a lot of hurt that takes place at that instant. And at the high school or at the school level, we can intervene and talk to people and say, that really wasn't a good thing to say that. The other thing is, as I looked at your presentation here, there's a whole lot I don't know. I thought I already knew a lot.
Right.
And I thought, my God.
It's not.
There's just a bunch to learn.
Right, and I don't mean to interrupt, but it's not that these are new things. It's just that it's more. It's a little more widespread in terms of, we have celebrities, we have people that are out and about and living a lifestyle that has basically allowed our society to have these discussions. Because a lot of people, I think a lot of people have this idea that like being transgender is now like a trend. But it's not. It's just more. It's more out in terms of being just people being aware of the fact that there are people that identify in this way, and how do we accept these people, understand them, support them, and the students, they know a lot more than we do. They get it. Most of the students that I talk to, they know who they are. They may not be able to explain all the aspects of who they are, but they know. And in terms of a support group on campus, obviously for students, I can say that County Mental Health mentioned perhaps facilitating a group for families as well, because there are organizations like PFLAG, it's parents and friends of people who are gay, and it's a support group for the people who are related to those going through the coming out process or the transitioning process, and so those types of organizations exist. We just don't have a lot of things that are widely known here in Hollister. So
I was going to ask how, from your perspective and that perspective of, members of the GSA club, how is the general culture of this campus? How accepting are other peers? I mean, does that work out well or not well?
Help us out.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Well, I'm just, I'm curious about what your perception is, or your club's perception is as to how well or how poorly people in the club are treated by their peers or other, treated on this campus, really.
My experience is probably different than it was now. My experience here was very good. It was very positive. But also, that being said, nobody knew while I was here that I am transgender. But as from going to some of the GSA meetings this year, I think that the students can all agree that they feel pretty safe, but I think more of them feel safe because they aren't out. And they still have the fear to come out because they don't know what people would say. And I think that since we didn't do the training, it made the kids feel a lot better about coming out, maybe to teachers or staff or anybody, because now they know that for sure the teachers do know now more than they did at least before. So from my perspective, I can say I felt safe, but that's because nobody knew. But if I say I still went to the high school today, I think I would definitely feel after the training and the feedback that we got, I would feel a lot more safe being here, being accepted, and it would be okay.
I can speak to the history of being the GSA advisor. It's always been a pretty quiet club. We're not always super involved. Some years it depends on who, is taking on the role of president. Sometimes we do walk down Main Street, and show our pride. Sometimes there are years where we're quieter. A lot of times we just have meetings that they don't have a topic. It's just about being able to sit there. I have students who come and don't speak. They sit there, they're just there. It's just a place for them to go. I think that whatever purpose it serves for them is good. But I have seen things are more accepted now. Within my first couple of years here, I had a student who came out to his family and was taken out of school and sent to reparative therapy and was put on independent study and was not allowed to come back and speak to us. He had to sneak out and come to the meetings to tell us what was going on. But I've been teaching here since 2004, so that happened within that time frame. And so these situations are real for these students, and the fear of not being accepted by the people who love them, that's real. It's huge. Being in high school is hard enough without feeling like people hate you just because of who you are. So I do see things getting better, and it's one of the things that we kind of wanted to do in terms of after training the staff. We definitely need to get that component out to students as well. There are districts that have comprehensive social development classes regarding orientation and identity starting in elementary school. And that's not something that we have here, but we have the potential, and since we don't have it, we have the opportunity to start from scratch and really create something that's powerful. And we've talked about the idea of bringing back things like Challenge Day, things that kind of incorporate more discussion around these topics. We've talked about so many things, and I know we've been going on for a while now, but I just care so much about this. I'm really happy with the way that things are going, and I think that we've had nothing but positive responses from staff, and I think that, the potential for good things to come is really great.
Well, I think the board should know that Ms. Conklin is the conduit to our students, and she is the reason why we're able to make inroads with our students and to our staff to make a difference for our staff and students as far as raising the awareness and educating so that we do have a safer environment. And I want to make sure the board understands that this is truly Ms. Conklin's effort. We simply show up and make sure we get all the things taken care of that she needs to get taken care of. But my hat's off to you. You've done a fantastic job. So
thank you. Would you like paper form if I can email the results to you?
Whatever's easiest for you.
I'm gonna have to play around with it because it's like a huge spreadsheet and I want it to be readable. So
whatever's less work for you, not like you're not teaching already. So whatever you can get your info without
of course
requiring more time.
Of course.
Okay, the next agenda item is the student board report. And I assume that, are you our new representative from now on, or
I can introduce.
Okay.
So good evening. I want to introduce to you one of our signature leaders on campus. This is our ASB president, Lauren Clower, and she is filling in as a student board rep. We will have a newly assigned student board rep beginning next semester. So anyway, without further ado, we have Lauren here, our ASB president, to give you our report.
Hello, everyone. Hello. So I'm just going to start off with Awesome. Okay, so one of the old concerns I wanted to just touch on was, what was it, the windows in the boys' bathroom? Is that on there? Yes. So the windows in the boys' bathroom, I think Mr. Prowlis already touched on this, is that they're very intrusive. You could kind of just see right through them, and I think that all the students that use the boys' restrooms on campus could attest to that. And maintenance right now has temporarily covered them with a blind-like material, which I think they appreciate a lot. The students do. And over December break, they're planned to be taken out and just covered with a regular wall. So we'll see the update on that soon. And then some of the new concerns, I just want to point out the pictures here. Mr. Lewis is fantastic. He set up a food show for the Student Congress representatives last month. And students were able to go around to a few different vendors and rate their food. And I speak on behalf of myself and other students when I say that Mr. Lewis has just made such an impact on the cafeteria here at the school. He really listens to students' needs and their wants, and I think he's doing a very great job this year.
Before you go on, what do you mean by portable speaker music rules clarified?
Yes, so a few students around school have been using the portable speakers that you can hear out loud rather than headphones. And students wanted more research on if the rules could be clarified on that, or if there even is a rule about portable speakers.
Your music might not be my music, and here you are blasting away.
Yeah, exactly. That kind
and the
of
other one is more crossings at crosswalk in the morning. Does that mean the 2 that we have isn't enough?
What they mean by that is more frequently cross people in the morning, because I guess students were concerned that they were being late to their 0 or first block classes because they had to wait on either side of the sidewalk.
So more frequent crossings.
Yes.
By the people with the stop signs, right?
By the campus supervisors. Yeah. They just wanted more research on that.
Okay.
All right, and then the Link Crew Conference. Although I didn't attend the Link Crew Conference this year, I have attended it, I think, once or twice before in my years here. And what I just wanted to say about it is that it's an amazing experience, and it's a way for us to check in with our Link Crew leaders, who are usually our juniors and seniors here at the high school. And it's just a way for them to learn new mixers and games, and to remind them how to keep in touch with their freshmen that they've had since freshman orientation in August.
And on this one, you mentioned in the second to last sentence, the students were taught new activities and reminded of the importance of checking in with their freshmen. Do the leaders have a list of their freshmen and ways to get in touch with them? And are we looking into incorporating Link Crew more into that kind of the curriculum that I think our advisors got on how to intervene or kids that are having trouble in school, how to let the administration know about kids that are having some sort of personal problem? That's what Link Crew is supposed to do. Yeah. I'm wondering if that's in any planning stages, or it doesn't have to be answered right now, but that's good that they went on this. So I'll bring that up again at the agenda time.
Yeah, and just to answer one of your first questions, the leaders do have a list of the freshmen that they've had from the beginning of the year, but a frequent problem that we have is that they lose that list or they misplace it. So I think a good thing to do would be to hand those out one more time or 2 more times throughout the year. All right, and these are just some pictures of people who attended the conference. And then this was one of our events, the Fall Bump Fest. So what I want to say about the Bump Fest is that to me it's really neat to see one of these type of events, because you get to see students on campus kind of showcase their certain interests, this one being cars, which I'm not really into cars. I don't know anything about them. So seeing them, we get a really, really great turnout. The attendance is amazing for Bump Fest. Yeah, we had a lot of participants this year. So
can I put out a kudos for Paul Ravella? He's our, I think, man of the year or something. he started this as an idea to get more kids involved in 1995. And the art director's in charge of that, but Paul Ravella. When I look at him, I think of cheap dance and fun fest. He started both of them.
All right, and then the big event that we're working on right now, the benefit drive for 2016-2017. So just a shortened version of our beneficiary's story. His name is Bernardino Gaeta, and he was diagnosed with a rare heart condition last year. He is now currently a junior at San Benito High School. Basically, we're raising money for his family because they've had to pay for a lot of hospital bills. He stayed in Stanford for a while. And the amount on here, 4,000, I'm almost positive we're at 5,000 plus right now since this slideshow has been made. So we're almost a third of the way to our goal, which is really amazing for this time of the year. We're not even into the next year yet, so that's amazing. And our next restaurant day, our next event is tomorrow. So if you guys have time, if you want to stop by Doña Esther's in San Juan, they're giving 20% of their proceeds for the day to Bernardino's family.
Winter balls in January now, huh? It used to be in December, but it's moved to January.
January or in February? Oh, Winter Ball. Yeah.
Winter ball.
Winter Ball's in January, January 12th.
And then theater school assemblies when
Also end of January.
Late January.
Those are all slotted already, yeah.
Coming up. All right, and there's just a picture of Bernardino. He was also on I think it was the track team. And one of the things that I like to mention about him is he took and passed his AP exams while he was in and out of heart surgeries, which is amazing. Yeah, so upcoming events, our BLT just happened. Our benefit drive, like I said, the restaurant day is tomorrow night. And then we go door to door I think it's one weekend a month. And this weekend we're doing Quail Hollow and the Oak Creek area. So, yep.
I just want to add, I believe it was one of the parents last time put on the Hollister Watch or Neighborhood Watch. And they kind of went viral to other sections of Hollister pages of where the kids were asking for money.
Yes.
And I thought that was really powerful because so many people nowadays are afraid to be scammed.
Yeah.
And it just legitimized what you were doing.
Yes,
so I think that maybe for this one on December 10th would be a good idea.
Yeah, publicize it.
And just
what's a Hollister?
Just also let the board know whether it's Mrs. Lamos, our student activities director, or an approved parent, there's always an adult
yes.
shadowing the group as they're going to the different neighborhoods. Yeah.
We go in pairs, 2 or 3. We wear ASB shirts and we always have our cell phones on us, so very safe. All right, and then I can take any questions if anyone has any more.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
The end of this benefit drive, there's a culminating event, right, that also raises money. And what month is that?
We are scheduling it for right now in February.
So the reason I mention that is I want to challenge anyone who's left here, any San Benito High School employee in the board. I've gone to this event a couple years now, and I will say that staff and San Benito High School employee representation is very poor. I just would put that out there that it's a very worthwhile cause, and it's very fun. Last year they put a mystery night event on.
Yes.
We had a great time, and it goes to a really good cause, and that's the night where they present the check to the actual beneficiary, which is it's a really nice. It was at the vault last year. I'm not sure where it'll be, but we'll make sure we get you guys that information. It's fun. It's worth your time. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to add on to,
I'd like to just reiterate what Adrian said. I went last year, and I was very disappointed in the amount of staff and board members that weren't there. And it was a fantastic event. It was a fun night. And so I encourage you all to.
Do you know what the theme this year will be?
we're trying to have the same company do the Murder Mystery Night theater presentation as last year. So it'll be, it's kind of, I don't know how to really explain it. There's actors sitting around with you at the tables, and it's a cool thing.
And you don't even know.
It's like you're basically playing Clue in a restaurant.
That's exactly playing Clue. You don't even know.
Do you have the date? February?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's in our calendar.
We'll make sure we
communicate
the information.
I think Mr. Ramirez has laid down the
challenge, so.
Well, I was taken to task while I was there, so I figured I need backup while I go.
Yes, there's a
The
usually
tradition that
an
the
option,
new
yeah.
board members buy tickets for all of this.
Yes, we appreciate that.
I remember that tradition.
Oh, yeah.
On your new concerns page, you mentioned the bell system. Is that still a volume issue, or do you know more about that?
Yes, I think it is still the volume issue. It's that it's too soft. You can't hear it on main campus, and it's too loud on the other campuses. I mean, I'm just assuming it's because we have way more people, like a population, on main campus during the lunch and break hours. But I think that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, just to speak to that, we've been working on calibrating the various volumes for that. So over the course of winter break, we will go through and continue working on it.
Thank you.
Now, one of the questions I had, because somebody brought up, is it the word, is the ring, the type of ring, or is it the volume?
It's the volume, definitely.
Okay.
I don't think it's a type. There were some concerns that it was drawn out a little too long, so I don't know. The students are very picky. But I think it's mainly the volume that they just can't hear it on main campus.
Yeah, we went through and turned up the volume earlier. However, those are very powerful speakers, and we were concerned about having them be too loud. So I think we were a little, too subtle with our volume. So,
yeah.
Any further questions? I just have a question regarding maybe for us or whatever. The new concerns, like is this something we discuss? Is this something that administration takes care of?
So what happens is with
Because I see them, but I don't know who addresses them.
the student congress, there's a pretty much like a committee of students that are all assigned to go and research and follow up with those concerns. And so some of those may be if they're food service, they'll come to Mr. Lewis. Some of them general school concerns, they'll come to me. And so they're basically required, their task is to go and research and then come back for the next student congress meeting and report out on what has been done or what's been the responses. So student congress, they've got a very good system.
They'll come find you.
And they meet how often?
Once a
You guys
month.
meet? Once a month?
Once a month.
Okay.
Except we're not meeting in December just because we have finals and all that great stuff.
You have finals?
I have one that concerns more, I guess, the administration, but page 51, the board agenda item letter, it says, board policy 5504 provides for one student board member who attends all meetings except closed sessions. When I first took on the role of activities director in '91, Chris Munger was our board rep, and he attended every board meeting. And that was the case all the way through the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s. And then somewhere around 2008 or 9, somebody advised the board rep that they shouldn't attend every meeting, that every other meeting would be better. And it was advised by an administrator, I remember that, but I don't know which one. I think that they should be attending every meeting, even just for a few minutes, so we can get input from them, as it was for the first 15 or 20 years, no, 15 years of the times that I was noticing this.
I think the expectation is that they come to every meeting.
And the other thing I think we want to make sure is that they do an advisory vote on every issue if they want to.
If they want to, many of them, they have to leave because they have homework and
Yeah, that was my next question is, can we move them up? Like maybe, just move their presentation to the beginning, but it's 9, you know what I mean? So is there a way to move them, I don't even say kind of public comments or something to that effect where they're in and out because they've got homework to do, but it's 9 o'clock, they've been in school all day.
And we'll, just so that the board knows, right now we have our student board rep supposed to attend every meeting, and then we'll present every other meeting. But we'll watch the clock, and I'll check in with our student board rep. Lauren Clower here probably got preparing for about 15 AP tests that she's going to take, and so obviously we were very conscious of that and send them home once we know they've done.
So this is an unusual board evening.
I hear you. I just want to make sure that the students are in and out because it's just better.
In 2009, we had 2 board reps because they couldn't agree on which one to send. One was the Italian exchange student. So it was really nice of him.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job, Lauren. Okay, next we have first interim report, and that's
So we have to, the state requires us to certify basically 3 times a year that we can afford our finances. So we do the budget in June, then we have a first interim and a second interim. So this is a first, and it's expenditures, the budget, and it's expenditures and revenues as of October 31st, 2006. So I'll review the budget assumptions, the numbers that we use to build the budget, and then we'll take a look at the revenues, the enrollment, expenditures, multi-year projections, and then other funds. As part of the certification, we have a positive certification in front of you, and that means that you certify to the state that you will meet that the school district will meet the financial obligations for this school year and the next 2. So the first is the budget assumptions. Whoops. I don't know which one is the light. There. So I'm sorry it's so little. But this corresponds to page 7 in your book. And so these are the building blocks that we build the budget on. First is average daily attendance. And so we built it on 2,867, and there's no change there. And the grant is $8,578 per student. There have been no changes to revenue. The gap funding rate is still at 54.84%. There's the CTE adjustment. We have the mandated cost reimbursement, a one-time lump sum of $608,000, and then we have the lottery revenues. Our expenditure assumptions there was a slight change, on the B schedules. We have a 0.6 increase in the FTE. And then the cost of 1% went down a little, and that's because the salaries went down. So for general fund revenues, page 8 of your report, if we look way over here, revenues have increased by $1.6 million. And it's due to a number of reasons. Number one, the number corresponds to the reason down here, the note. So there's an increase in the property tax transfer from the County Office of Ed, and we received 2 types of property tax transfers. The first one is the amount that's applied to our local control funding formula, and then the second amount is the amount that is applied to special ed, the restricted funding. So this is the restricted funding that increased by $18,000. Our Title I, Title II, and Title III revenues have all increased, and that's the $64,000. The $725,000 increase is due to mainly the Career Technical Education grant. And the you'll see this number change again this year, because $499,000 is actually, is actually the 15-16 entitlement, but we didn't spend any money, and so we're carrying it forward. And in school accounting, if you don't spend the money, you can't recognize the revenue. So that's why we're recognizing the whole amount here. But we're also going to get another amount this year, so that will increase. We have ERMS funding increase, which is the early mental health dollars that we receive, and then a college readiness grant of $121,000. There's miscellaneous increases in the other local revenues, and then the beginning balance was increased 1.6. Oh, I explained that incorrectly, I'm sorry. Total revenues increased $841,000. The beginning balance increased $1.6 million. And the beginning balance the beginning balance is the amount of money that is left over from the prior year. So when we originally adopted the budget, we projected that there would be $4.1 million left over in 2015-16, but there was actually 5.7, and that's why there's the increase. Expenditures came in much less than what were anticipated.
I have a question.
Okay.
The red, the 38,963. Why is that in the negative when everything else shows a positive growth?
Because restricted revenues came in less than that. That's comparing 867 to 828. So we ended up spending more in the restricted areas than originally anticipated.
Okay.
And this is just a graphical presentation. 68% of general fund revenues are due to the local control funding formula, and that's directly tied to the ADA, the enrollment, and our free and reduced rates. So back to ADA, this is a comparison, and this corresponds to page 9 of your book. The bars are current year. So it looks like we have more revenues or more students this year than last. Well, we do have more students, and they're also coming to school more frequently. So on this estimate, we're showing 17 more students, which is approximately $150,000 increased revenues. But I'm hoping as we go throughout the year, it'll be more than that and closer to at least 25 more students. So it appears that we might be starting to see the growth that everybody keeps talking about.
Ms. Toscano, do we see a bump? Well, thinking about it now, it wouldn't really give us much of a bump, but do we see a bump in the spring with our migrant students coming back from like Arizona or places like that?
Not that I've noticed, no.
Very few families that go to Arizona or leave and come back in the spring. Very few.
The main bump is here for P1, which is the average of the first 4 months. So when they come back for Christmas. So then moving to expenditures, our expenditures increased $977,000 in total. But to look at certificated salaries, they decreased almost $300,000. I saw that 6 there. They decreased $300,000, and that is because when we originally budget, it's estimates, and we don't know who's coming and going, the retirements and attrition, etc. So at first interim, we're able to reconcile and get the actual salaries in, and so they're lower. They came in lower. Classified salaries came in a little higher, and that's due to increases in data processing, transportation department, and special ed. The increases in employee benefits are due to the increases in the salaries. Number 9, the books and supplies went up $445,000, and that's mostly due to expenditures that were originally budgeted in the restricted column that were moved to unrestricted. And then the budgets for services and other operating expenditures went up $317,000. And those were additional electricity costs, legal fees, and the scheduled transportation expenditures. And I didn't list there, we have some non-public school expenditures in there also.
Do you know how many non-public are there?
I believe there's 2 more than what we originally budgeted.
Yeah, so we have one additional student that's going to the Bay School that we did last year. And then we have an additional student over at Phoenix School currently.
Does SELFA reimburse us for those?
Yeah, so
not these.
The students at the Bay School are students with autism, and it's not reimbursable. And it has to be a student with educationally related mental health services, and then they do actually reimburse it a large amount, but in this case, they wouldn't be reimbursable. Neither of these placements are.
And that's for the total, I can't see that far, I'm sorry, the total is what on that?
Whoops, 317,000. Capital outlay has increased by 459,000. That's the CTE grant, and we're using it to purchase equipment for the new building, for the new CTE building. And then indirect increase, other outgo, the $163,000 decrease is the amount of money that we're transferring to the county office to cover students at Santa Ana is coming in less than what we originally budgeted. And then lastly, the indirect, which is the amount we charge the restricted programs for processing payroll and payables and everything else, has increased.
So Roseanne, is the transfer amount to San Andreas, is that dictated by the number of students that are in that facility?
Yes.
You used to not have to pay for, correct, and now do? Or is that just you?
Well, for San Andreas, we do a direct revenue transfer, and then Santa Ana, the county doesn't claim the ADA, we have to claim it, and so that's how we pay it, yes. And then the rest of the general fund expenditures, the second half of the financial statement, if you will, shows contributions to restricted funds. We have, they increased $169,000. $65,000 of that is to special ed, and when the expenditures increase, so does the contribution, because the revenues do not increase in that program. And then workability has increased, has a contribution. We're aligning the expenditures where they belong. They've always been in special ed, and I don't think it's a true picture. And so now we're putting them, the total cost of the employees for that program are going with that program rather than being lumped into special ed. I think that's a more true way to show that.
Can you explain workability to me, because I haven't seen this on a budget before?
I need Paulette's help.
It's a program that is funded through grants. There's a grant for workability, and it is highly regulated, and it's helping kids transition, helps them get jobs, write resumes, interviews, interviews today, mock interviews for students. And so it's an IEP-based and 504 plan-based program.
And then just a graph again, and 79.4% of the salaries are general, or of the budget is spent on salaries and benefits. Then lastly, the components of ending balance. So this is one of the most important parts of the financial statement. We have line E right here, and line E represents current year revenue less current year expenditures. So if you see right here, we are deficit spending $442,000. So we're spending more money than we're bringing in. Now, for this year, we can afford it because we brought forward this $5.7 million. When you continue looking on down the statement, you take the 5.7 and you add the 442 to it. Our ending balance is projected to be $5.3 million, and we take out our revolving cash and our stores, the restricted balances, and other commitments. This other commitments, I've been carrying forward $1.2 million, and this is the amount we've been safeguarding for the audit adjustments that we're anticipating from the county. Well, we have to increase it by another $600,000. We have another increase coming, and this is due to a timing issue between the county and us, and we wrote a receivable for more. We wrote the receivable for a dollar amount, and then the county made some journal entries, and so the receivable was wrong. So,
Is this a one-time thing? Or?
yes.
Okay, so this is.
But it's an ongoing mess.
Ongoing one-time thing?
No, it's ongoing mess. We hope to at least, write the entry for the 1.8 million when the auditors are done this time. But they're still analyzing all those pages and pages of outstanding warrants, and they're still reconciling payroll to the county treasurer is reconciling what the districts are showing as payroll to what they show. And we know there's $300,000 sitting there for us. I mean, not for us, to be taken from us. And we don't know how much else could be there.
Is it like 2 years, Rosanna?
This problem?
Yeah.
Since 13-14.
Is that person still employed?
No.
Thank you.
Well, actually,
Well, yeah, it's the county auditor treasurer. The county office of ed is cleaning it up. And they've hired a couple of auditors to review some of it, but.
I'm not gonna go into this because it'll take forever, but I don't feel comfortable paying a penny of that $1,803,000. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Without a forensic audit then.
Mm-hmm.
And I've asked for it, I've said it, and I know that the county board of supervisors are aware of it. But where does it stop? I've been
Exactly.
told it's gonna go back to 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that we did something wrong, it's that their accounting practices were out of whack and were not essentially in place.
Exactly.
And now we're being charged.
And it's 1.8 million that we know of so far. That's what's so scary.
So I think we can talk this later on privately in closed session under litigation, possible litigation, but I think without a forensic audit, clean scrub, how long are we paying for the next 10 years?
Yeah. So we have $1 million for our reserve for economic uncertainties, and we're mandated by law to reserve 3% of the general fund expenditures for emergency purposes. So that leaves $1.9 million unappropriated, which is basically leftover money, and it's one-time money, though. You can spend once, so. We're in healthy shape for 16-17, but we are deficit spending, which is something we always have to keep an eye on. So as I said this is the total picture, page 15 of your budget. I apologize for this kind of, so. Part of your certification is current year and the next two. And so these are the budget assumptions for the next 2 years. And we're increasing ADA by 25 in each year for a total of $50 ADA. And we're adding 2 additional certificated FTE in each year for a total of 4, and then 2 additional classified. Now, the CalPERS rates and the CalSTRS rates are both increasing a lot in each of those 2 years. But these are just general parameters for building the budget. So page 17 is a picture of the projection. So we're estimating $33 million and 34 in expenditures. So it's still deficit spending, $658,000 in 17-18, and then $871,000 in 18-19. It boils down to 1.2 million unappropriated for 17-18 and only $500,000 unappropriated in 18-19. So if everything stays exactly as it is right now and nothing changes and the governor keeps everything the same, this is what it could look like. But there's so many things that could change between now and 18-19 especially. This is just a first blush look at our estimated expenditures.
I think Mr. DeLay, of all people, knows he wouldn't bet $5 on that. No.
No. Yeah. So then lastly is the other funds, and all of our funds are budgeted to stay within their revenues. I want to point out that the special reserve for capital outlay which is the fund that we built the PE addition out of, is pretty much spent out. $600 left there. So that's all I have unless there are other questions.
Any questions? Roseanne, I want to commend you. I think I say this every time you present. I've been through hundreds of these, and half the time I don't think anybody knows what anybody's talking about. But you do a really nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there's no questions, can I get someone to make a motion to approve or adopt the first aid rule?
Second.
Yes.
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 Thank you. And now we have a contract.
So I left a little package at your spot. It has this yellow highlighting on it. We worked with the attorneys to update the contract, and some of the changes weren't brought over. So on page 78 of your packet, that coincides with the yellow highlight. And this is a paragraph talking about the time period for our insurance. It's just clarifying. And then after page 111, we're adding attachment 5 and 6, which are in the packet that I gave you, that list the exclusions to the contract, to the GMP, and the delegation of responsibility. It's clarifying information. The page 99 of the packet itself lists the GMP. So this is the contract for the building part of the social science and visual and performing arts building. And the contract here is for $7,121,296. And I'm not going to go through, but it lists all the items in the contract. Page 114 shows the lease payments to ensure that we are complying with the spirit of the law, the lease back. The lease amount is for $358,000. The annual interest rate is 2%, and it would be over 1 year if we chose to make the payments. To take the time to make those payments. The interest paid would be $3,676.17. And Jeff is here representing JLM. If there are any questions.
I did want to ask Rob a question, but I had it answered earlier and I just forgot. But I did want to thank Mr. Lucetti for driving, I believe, from Roseville, right? Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa. Yes. Still a long drive. Yeah. But I appreciate you being here tonight to answer any possible questions our board may have, and shows your commitment to our district. It means a lot. Thank you.
So I have a question for them. Who is responsible for permits and fees? Is that Block or is that the district?
The district.
Okay. Second question is this one of the contracts that's been
vetted by our law firm?
Yes, this is their format.
Okay, that's what I thought. And third question for Ms. Lugetti. On your exclusions, you state that you're going to design to LEED standards, but it's not technically certified. And I'm curious as to why, if you're going to design to those standards, that you wouldn't ask for the certification.
Well, the process of certification requires that you submit to LEED documentation and paperwork and fees and such associated with actually getting the final certification. And what we're doing here is we're designing to LEED standards, but we're not going to actually get that piece of paper.
ADIS will on our behalf. ADIS will on our behalf.
Any additional questions from the board? Then can I get a motion?
I'll move approval of the contract as presented.
Second?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay, the next agenda item, L7, adopt resolutions 2016-2017-15. Establishing the classified employee seniority list.
Okay, good evening once again, trustees. So this is an annual item that I bring before the board for approval. Just to give you a keynote, I know you've taken a look at the exhibit, but all classified employees have had an opportunity to weigh in on the seniority list. Corrections can be made anytime throughout the year, but it does establish a baseline for us. So I ask respectfully that the board approve this as is.
Oh, it's a move. Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
I just want to point out that Linda Valdivia is still probably the one that's been here the most.
She is our, Trustee Robledo, she is our longest tenured employee, and
She's still fantastic.
43 years.
Wow.
1973? You remember? Yeah.
I was in 75.
She started the year after graduation.
Okay, the next agenda item is L8. That's again Sean on the job description for program specialists and special ed.
Yeah, so trustees, we're making a minor change here to the program specialist for special education. And you've probably already taken a look at the exhibit. It's just 2 items which match up with the type of funding that is being provided through the SELPA and specifically dealing with ERMs. So to recoup that funding, we need to make sure that we have a component within the job description that actually spells out what they are doing so that Director Cobb can go ahead and bill back and get that funding. So I respectfully ask that the board approve this. That doesn't change the days, the compensations, just a slight adjustment.
Is there a motion, please?
I move. Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. And L9, principal's report.
Okay, hello again, good evening. And as far as the principal's report, what I wanted to do is give you an idea of the current, some of the current events and current things that we got going. You were able to get a sort of a briefing from our ASB president, Lauren Clower, regarding student activities and everything they're involved with. So first of all, this week, starting Monday is academic focus week from now leading up to our finals. And so if you're wondering what academic focus week is, basically a time frame in which we declare here at the school that there are no activities on campus that we control that would pull a student out of class, whether it would pull them out early or whether it would get them, so anything from student activities to anything that we're doing within the student services center. So unfortunately with athletics, we don't have control over that piece, and so there are, with our winter sports underway, we have that. If it were up to me in a perfect world, I would have everything situated so that would actually happen. Students wouldn't, our student athletes would also not miss class. But that's what we're doing. That's a joint effort between myself and the committee that does our scheduling every May. which includes representation from our teachers union. Dr. Foster has sat with me in on that committee, so so far so good. Today we conducted our network EDIMS stress test, and so basically what that means is that we sort of wanted to gauge the load that our network in EDIMS is the system we use to proctor our assessments. And really what we're wanting to do, because we've got so many more departments and classes, some of our courses that are conducting them fully online, I don't think we've ever been at this level since we've been there. So what we did is we had our student services team put together a campus climate survey through EDIMS, where the attempt was to try to get every Chromebook online and taking a brief survey, and we're sitting there with the guidance of John Crusetta and checking to see if there are any potential issues, because what our concern is that we're going into finals, and you don't get any second chances for finals. You know, finals are final, right? And so, you know, things went pretty well, and we've got some ideas of how to ensure that we've got sort of some cushion. But we're definitely maxing out the usage when we take our finals in terms of our network. And so we've debriefed and we've got some ideas of how we can make sure. But we've got some very good feedback from teachers and things went well. January 3rd, we're well underway in terms of finalizing planning for Teacher Workday when we return from the winter break, which will be a combination of some workshops led by our own teachers and also a half day of being able to provide them with classroom preparation and planning. So I will forward that to the board. You're more than welcome to attend. We'll kick off at 8 o'clock right here in the cafeteria, and you'll have a copy of the agenda so you see some of the things that we're doing there. College application season. Our students from the UC CSU system, the college application season is basically come to a close. However, college application season across the nation is not closed. I was just talking to Lauren Clower, who's applied to several UC schools, but some of our private schools back east actually still have open deadlines that carry through the end of, actually into January. So you'll be hearing, I got my first Facebook message from a student who just got accepted to University of Arizona, so it was like, okay, here we go, acceptances are already coming our way. So towards the end of the year, we'll bring you some more information on that. Pre-scheduling, bless her heart, our assistant principal, Claire Grissom, took the reins this year with master scheduling, and we just completed pre-scheduling of all our current students. And just, I can tell you from firsthand experience, the coordination of that is huge. I mean, we've got close to 3,000 students, and so we're gonna be able to, our goal here is to be able to come back to the board and be able to give you what that looks like, some numbers, and we'll have those conversations. As we return from the winter break, Mrs. Grissom and her team will be out at all the feeder schools to start pre-scheduling our incoming 9th graders. So you'll hear a little bit more about that there. Peer-to-peer staff recognition. You may have seen through some of the emails, we've started with our department chair and instructional leadership team a peer-to-peer staff recognition where our DCs recognize someone within their department, thanking them or just recognizing for their hard work. So we'll make sure that the board is aware of who those folks are. We've got some neat little recognition awards that our HR office and also with Bev Betancourt, my secretary, put together. You've heard about Cultural Awareness Committee. I was going to touch on that, but you've heard about that. Things are going really well, was well received. And then one of the projects that we started we've had some initial conversations and meetings with our a committee of ASB students is starting and reviving an academic and civic recognition program for students. And so one of my biggest things when I walk across campus is there's this poster that says Baylor Code on it, and they've got these tenets on them, and they've been around since I was a student here. When I was a student here, they were very well ingrained in everything that we did here, and my goal is to bring that back and to tie academic and civic contributions from our students to those tenets. So you'll hear more about that. I don't want to go into too much detail, but that's something we're working on. You heard me talk about our department chair instructional leadership team meetings. We meet, about 3-4 times a month, 7:15 every Monday morning. We're there and discussing a whole lot of issues. One of the things that we've tried to do is shift those meetings from being less housekeeping items to really digging into some of our ideas in terms of curriculum and strategies and how can we improve the quality of instruction in the classroom. So just to give you an example, our department chairs, along with each administrator, is a liaison to those DCs, and we do targeted walkthroughs where we sit down and we schedule walkthroughs through those departments, and we take a look at, we're looking for something specific. So we're trying to mold what that looks like. So there's some of that's going on. Division reports, our DCs are well underway in terms of working on those division reports that we would bring to the board. Each DC will do, so we would, obviously request some dates for our DCs to come forward and be able to showcase, how they're doing, be able to provide you some data in terms of how their departments are performing. And then a little bit, I think it's important that we talk a little, that I give you a little bit of an idea of what we're working on in terms of curriculum and instruction. One of the big things that we've started this year is the requirement for us to integrate English language learner literacy standards within our Common Core standards. And our big thing, we're in an awareness stage right now, and so that's going to be a piece of our January 3rd workshop, which has also been some of the work that we've done in some of our faculty meetings and other gatherings with our faculty. But that is a big piece. I won't go into detail. That'll be something that we can bring back. SPED inclusion model with the leadership and guidance of Director Cobb. We're talking about access and for our students. And so we're taking the next steps as we sit down and plan our master schedule for next year. It's going to be an important piece to see what that looks like in terms of having students with learning disabilities being able to access general education curriculum. With the leadership of Assistant Principal Clower, we're rolling out and looking at ways in which we can have our training our teachers and looking for what rigor means. As we hear the word rigor, and it gets thrown around quite a bit, but there's never really any kind of definition or what it looks like. And so we began in our DC meetings to look at a concept called depth of knowledge, which what I'll give you is it's really sort of a, and correct me if I'm wrong, Assistant Principal Clower, the way I see it, it's sort of a categorizing of tasks and strategies according to the complexity of the thinking that is required by the students. And hopefully I kind of captured that right. And so we can talk a little bit about that, but what that is really what we're looking at is we know our kids have the ability to accomplish and go through a course that requires them to critically think, but we got to figure out what that looks like and how that's going to be rolled out in the classroom, along with Wicker, which is an AVID-based model, which focuses on writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. That's what Wicker is. That's something that we can bring back to you. So we're knee deep into this stuff, and we're really rolling that out with the leadership of our teachers to see how we should roll it out with the rest of the staff. We have a format throughout a calendar where we have our PLC meetings, which is our professional learning communities, which are basically our course-alike teams that meet frequently throughout the year. Division meetings where our departments get an opportunity to meet as a division and as a whole division. And then we have obviously scheduled faculty meetings where we come together as an entire staff and present stuff like safety, cultural awareness, and things like that. So that's a model that we're following. Another big thing, obviously, is how we're currently being measured with our SBAC assessments, with SBAC testing. And so earlier this semester, we took a shortened version of an interim test for that, for math and English. It gives us some feedback on how our students are doing. And then as we roll into, is it February, Director Crowell, we'll be doing the comprehensive interim SBAC testing. Yeah, and the nice thing about that is what we follow up with those results is our staff is actually involved in hand scoring the students' work. It's a very, from experience and having done it for the first time myself last year, a very eye-opening experience to see how serious kids are taking the SBAC testing. So that'll be going, and then as we end the semester, for me as the principal, one of my big tasks throughout the break is to kind of sit back and kind of look at what we've done so far this year and make sure that everything that we're doing is aligned with the focus that we rolled out at the beginning of the year, that we're aligned with the LCAP, with the single school plan for student achievement, with our WASC action plan. And so it's really important to me that we continue that focus and that everything we do falls under that umbrella. And last but not least, just, Mr. Dirks is not here, and that's because he just spent a couple days in Pasadena with a group of about 8 or 9 teachers. They went to a solution tree workshop on assessments, which we have sent a team previously in back last spring. We've got some really good feedback. So the goal is anytime we send our staff to any kind of professional development, that the mindset is that they're coming back with something that they can share with the whole staff. And so that is a workshop that we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. And then obviously you guys, our board is aware, especially our 2 new board members. We just spent several days over in San Francisco at the CSEA conferences. From the principal's perspective, and I can tell you from those, Ms. Clower, those school site administrators that were there, very worthwhile. I can tell you that in the workshops that we were in, gave us some good ideas in terms of outside the box thinking and some progressive ways at looking at how to lead teachers, how to lead students, and just how to go about, implementing ELD standards from, all different perspectives. So it was very worthwhile. Definitely learned a lot from that. So I've got, we've got sports. I just want to, I know that, with sports underway, the winter season, I won't go into the details, but I will tell you that the winter season is the busiest season in terms of the amount of games that are going on, the amount of duties administrators have, and not only that, but the use of facilities is just ramped up during the winter season. So we got basketball, who just probably finished up a game right now. We got a wrestling tournament here, we will have wrestling going on this weekend. And so we're rocking and rolling. So you're going to see nonstop use of our facilities here, at least through late February. Yes?
Comments? Are you still going to post your acceptances as soon as the kids get accepted on the? I really enjoy that. I mean, as a parent, that was something that I thought was great positive, to show everybody that our kids are going to college.
I call the students up and then we have the backdrop.
Yeah.
Take their picture.
So I'm glad that's continuing. My next question is, the division chairs, to give us a report and stuff like that, is there, email's fine or a presentation, but for them to come, you know what I mean? It's after hours, it's long, they're tired. So it's just a thought. I don't know how the board feels about that, but just to have them send it to us would be okay. We read it, maybe if we have a question, we can ask them to come in.
They'll make presentations. Cindy can probably tell you a little bit more, but when the schedule is, but they come in and talk about their department.
Well, I was just saying, to prevent that, maybe we just look at it and then say if we have a question, you know what I mean? Have them, instead of coming in and presenting, just like you said, if it's already in a PowerPoint, then they come and talk about the PowerPoint. If we have a question, maybe then we could possibly then let them know prior to, yes, we'd like you to come in and ask some questions regarding what we read. Just a thought, to throw it out there.
I think in the past they used to come in so we could see who the teachers are.
Yeah.
Because as a board, you don't all have the chance to go in there and check it out. But math teachers, yesterday I met some science teachers and I was accusing them of being students.
You met Tian and Mason.
Oh, yeah. Other than the lab coat, yeah.
So Trustee Nemi, what I would recommend, and we've talked about this in a previous meeting, is that to kind of meet in the middle, is that what we've done before is we've, and I know we don't necessarily, not necessarily that you want to have another board meeting, but in the past we've had a special session during the day where we've scheduled our DCs to come through the day and provide, and that way you can answer, they can present a summary of their presentation and the board has an opportunity to ask questions. We've done that during the day.
And it would be like a half hour, 45 minute per division, depending on how you want to structure it for you. And we've done that. And basically, you get an opportunity to talk to 2 or 3 people, and then we have lunch, and then you can finalize your thoughts on all of that. And if that's what you wish to do.
No, it's just more like it's just a long way.
Yeah, I share Trustee Nemi's concern. You guys have seen me sitting in a lot of these meetings, and I know that the DCs put a lot of time and effort into it. And sitting out there, kind of question the value of it. I think that it's important to be connected with those division chairs. But I know if I'm asked to give a presentation on something, I'm going to show you how good I am. I'm not necessarily going to tell you. You're not going to get necessarily the full picture, right? So, what I want to do is question our methodology. Is it is it a worthwhile methodology? Is it worth the teacher's time to prepare the report? Is it worth the board time to present the report? And or is there a better way we can do it? I think
That's just, you know, I'm being a teacher, dog and pony is the word that comes up to me. You know what I'm saying? Dog and pony. Not that I think they're doing that, but it's, they gotta perform. And when they gotta perform, they gotta come in. It's a long night. They've been teaching all day. They've got reports. They've got things going on the next day. And then you're asking them to sit and report. It could be 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, depending on where they live. They gotta go back home. So if it's something that comes to us, a presentation, it's not necessary. Not that we hired them for a reason. They're doing their job. But a presentation is fine. A narrative, something to that effect, or a PowerPoint, whatever that is, we can look at. I'm just saying for future, being somebody who's had to present, it's just to throw it out there. New blood, new questions, new ideas.
Well, whatever the pleasure of the board is, I can tell you that the report will be ready.
I think it's great you guys are bringing up the question. For my 2 cents worth, what I would want to know is whether the presentations, I think the presentations are valuable to the board. They're valuable to me, put it that way. And they don't happen very often. So as for one department, so I understand what you're saying. It's inconvenience to teachers, but it's only like maybe once a year or something. So, but my real question is whether the department chairs perceive that having to do that presentation, is that valuable? All of us, when we have to do those kind of things, you're forced to do things you wouldn't otherwise do, right? Put things together. So is that helpful to them, or is it just,
as a teacher,
saying,
it's not.
Show?
No offense, but it's, to me, as a teacher, it's not, because usually by the time I present my information, it's done. And I'm going to give you that, and it's like kind of an autopsy. It's already been given, so I can give you what we've been doing, but I don't know, I'm just giving you another perspective.
I can tell you that I can speak safely on behalf of the DCs and tell you that they would, they think, I'm sure that the process of being able to look at their data and report out on all the aspects of the department is valuable to them. Whether or not they think that showing up on an evening and presenting it to you, I would probably say that I don't think they think that's as valuable as actually the meat and potatoes of what they would submit to you. Now,
I would love
that doesn't mean that they don't enjoy coming in, and as you saw someone like Mr. Edwards who showcased some of the things that they do, they enjoy that piece. But I would say that's where they would sit on it. I know all the DCs really well, and I've worked with them all now for a while, and so I can safely speak on behalf of them. Yeah.
And data's phenomenal, because that's what we're really looking at.
I think what we've done as we've tried to progress through this is that we've asked them to give us all the data, and then their presentation is a short, here's the highs, here's the lows, here's what we're working on. And I think that's important for us to know. We need to know where the departments are going. We don't have to go through all the data with them standing up at the podium. But I think getting the data, getting the information is important, so we have that.
Okay with that.
And then they come in and tell us what's good, what's not good, what they're going to do to correct those things that are not good, and how they're going to move forward. And then it gives us a chance to, we've made decisions like, okay, we're going to buy you, I don't know what they call them, we bought something from the math department. I can't remember what those things were called.
That is a good point.
So it gives the DCs a chance to come to us and say, here's what I need, here's what you can do for me.
I would say when the board asks, what can I do for you, that's definitely worth their time.
No, exactly. But I would assume that they would want to get on the agenda and come to us and say, this is what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? So they're going to come to us prior to.
They won't do that.
Well, hopefully that's new, they'll do it.
One of the things that I see as positive is it goes in line with the times that you were introducing the coaches. That's a connection to the board. And sometimes it's nice to connect to these people that are dealing with our students as a board. And we can also come on campus, but I don't think we'll see the entire picture. So it kind of brings it back. But you're right, they don't have to stay here and give a long report and go over the data. But it'd be nice for them to say, okay, we sent you this stuff. Are there any questions? Yeah, there's one. You said that in math, you just can't seem to get that going, you know, what are you doing now?
Well, I think, that just to throw maybe a solution out there is that if the board were willing to entertain possibly a daytime session, you might be able to get DCs to present a 15 to 20 minute synopsis, highs, lows, next steps, recommendations, and then the board can do walkthroughs in classrooms to see really what's going on.
I would rather, that's just personally, like, I wanna see the kids, I wanna see them in action.
Yeah,
And then a daytime one would be great, because they're not taking away from their job.
Administrator or teachers, and you could walk, and it can be a full day, and you really get a chance to see what's happening in that division. You've got their presentation, and then you've got your presentation of what you're seeing.
They're kinda like that, they're not taking out their job. It's a problem.
So it would be a daytime presentation, and then followed up by classroom visit.
Yeah. You could be in and out in, a couple hours, but it's just phenomenal thought process. I think they would, one thing that you're talking about raise morale, correct? If the board were to switch that thought, just imagine how happy those teachers would be saying, hey, look, I don't have to come at night. They're coming to talk to me. They want to see what I'm doing in the classroom. They want to, I don't know, I'm just saying, I would appreciate that. Crystal Lamonto came through and walked through my classroom today. I was ecstatic. I could have thought, I was starstruck, you know what I mean? Because I had someone from the county coming and walking through. So I want them to see me at my job so they can see why my data is so good.
And we have to make sure they know that this isn't some sort of punitive thing.
Oh, no, it's a totally step in the right direction.
I would love to be able to go see them in their environment. This is not their environment.
This is what they do.
And some of them they'll get in front of 30 kids all day, every day, but they get in front of 5 board members and they're panicked up there, So, so let's go to them. Let's go to their classroom.
Students would appreciate us being on campus, I believe.
Yes.
We'll rock out.
If that's what you like to do with Principal Ramirez and
I would be more we can sit down and strategize a time and date, and then come up with even work with them.
Yeah, I mean, between myself and the administrative team, we can get out there.
Teachers out of the classroom though, we did it during the daytime.
It would be for,
if it was the
That's something that we've kind of been against, removing teachers. If one teacher from the division was here, but if we have several, they say, well, you have to have this guy come out.
Well, what if it's their prep?
Yeah, so we would try to strategically map it up. We have 5 DCs in our prep, so we would try to match up their prep. We might try to match up their other prep, because remember they have a DC prep and a prep. So we might be able to strategically hit the majority of it. We may not hit it perfectly, but we could also find somebody who has prep in their department to cover their class.
Exactly.
So
it's totally
there's a
doable.
lot of solutions.
Yeah, I think sitting down with them will really work out. Sit down with them, share your ideas and concerns, plan a day, make sure it works with all of your schedules, and then.
I just gotta give 5 days notice.
And I think
At least 5 days.
about 2 years ago, we did it in that fashion, and it worked out pretty well. And so we can do something like that, but I think to follow up with visiting the classroom would be powerful.
I like that. I'd like to try that.
So I have one question for you, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm curious as to what your sense of how the math department is doing at this point.
I could probably also answer that.
Go ahead. Oh, I said, do you want to go?
Oh, sure. Dan Quinn, the division chief, and I are constantly walking through the classrooms and then talking with teachers. And I can say this, we have math teachers who are exceptional in their content knowledge. Our students tend to be very passive in their math classes, so we're really working with and pushing our math teachers to make sure they're engaging students, that they're adding relevance to their curriculum, and we're really working with them on their engagement strategies. So that's been a big push. I think that kids can't just sit and watch math and do well in math.
No.
Mr. Quinn agrees with me, the department agrees. So they're working very hard to engage in students. We've added some technology tools, one of which is called IXL, which is a program they can use on their Chromebooks, and it differentiates for where the student is at. Sometimes they use that to practice the content that they're on at that time. Sometimes they use it to fill in gaps. They don't use it very long, very often, but it's just an added piece to get the kids going and engaged. And they're using some other technology-based strategies, some student talk, working very hard on student talk.
They're not there yet in terms of those instructional strategies, but they're working very hard, and they're taking steps in the right direction. So we're hopeful that we'll get some movement there.
Was that the program I saw in Vanderkirk's class, the one that escalates? So if you miss a question, you go back until you get it right, and then if you continue to get it,
You get a hard
it escalates
question.
as far as the difficulty. It might be good to show the board that. I mean,
This
I
is
was
one
so
of the,
impressed.
I mean, that's
I
one
was
example of a number of tools that they're
very
in the
impressed.
classroom.
Every kid was engaged.
Yeah, that's
Because
what we're really excited about.
it challenges you at your level. So
Yeah, it does, the aspect.
really impressed.
Yeah,
And not everyone's
It's
taking
all
it
this
home.
stuff, I mean, frankly, we've heard this stuff.
Right.
So are we gonna, is it, in your estimation, is it gonna produce slightly better results? I mean, that's what we've been after for
Right,
years. and
I
years.
agree with you 100%, and I really think that if we can get the kids doing math and not watching math, and engaging in the content instead of watching their teachers show them the content, we should see some movement. Is it gonna save the world? Are we gonna suddenly see, tremendous gains? Probably not. Over time, possibly. But what we are seeing is that we have solid content knowledge with our teachers. We have some very solid curriculum in Springboard. Our use of that curriculum is better this year than it was last year.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna make any promises because I'm not sure.
No.
And I'm just seeing the beginning of that movement in terms of student engagement and the things that we're using.
Are the
But I'm not giving up hope, Bill. I'm not giving up
Are
hope.
the teachers willing to conform? So here's my worry. I've gone through a claim with the teachers here and SBCMI. A lot of them are still stuck in the SBCMI, still stuck in the SBCMI notes, still stuck, and they want to roll that route. They got a great book, but they're so much into their own way of putting it out that it's not necessarily with the book. So it's not really coinciding having a child who struggles in math, and when the Common Core rolled out, it was just dumped, and I get it. This is where all our kids are. It was dumped, even though teachers knew about it 5 years prior to. A lot of administrations, not here, so I'm just going, we just held on until it was time to do it and dumped it out, and these kids are struggling. But to get into that mind frame, there's no thought process to get that math thinking. Because now they're going, oh, you need to go this. The kids want an algorithm. Everything was an algorithm. And it's not an algorithm anymore. Now it's, here's a situation, dissect it, and solve it. And the kids go, where's the algorithm? You know what I mean? And so you've got teachers going, here, for years, here's the algorithm. And then the book, so I know what never notes my daughter takes in class is not what's in the book. And so she can't make left or right. So she's going, in class, I totally got it. She's going home and looking at her homework and can't do her homework. And this is where we have to bridge that gap. This is where I see that as a parent, is like, yay, they know their content, but that content, they're in math frame. And I remember I kept saying, hey, kindergarten teacher in the classroom, like, you just spoke and I have no idea what you said. It sounded like alien. They understand it, but they got to bring it down to the kids' level so they understand what's being taught. But that's where your disconnect is, and that's where it is completely like, this is your book and these are your notes, but they're not coinciding. And that is, as a child, that is so hard, because then they got to get on the internet and figure it out. And that's the worst part, because your internet's teaching your kids.
We're seeing this year compared to, so last year was our first year with our official Common Core textbooks. In prior years, we had the all state standard textbooks and we were trying to teach Common Core.
Yeah.
So that was, of course, a little bit, actually very big disconnect. Last year with the Common Core math curriculum, I did see a lot of that. Like, we're gonna just stick with the procedures, and then you're gonna have to try to answer these deeper thinking questions.
The Springboard is amazing.
Right.
But you gotta use Springboard.
We brought back the curriculum trainers from Springboard. We had our math teachers have a lot of aha moments. I'm seeing a much greater adherence to that curriculum. They're looking at what's called the embedded assessments, which are really those putting it all together, big picture modeling problems, and before they throw them out to the kids. Now they're beginning their units by really breaking down those assessments, asking, what is this asking you to do? How might we go about figuring out how to solve a problem like this? And continuously as they go through the unit, going back to those embedded assessments, talking them through, and then when they get to the end of the unit and they have all sort of the pieces of the puzzles put together, they go back to that embedded assessment in partners or small groups, and they talk it through and they work it through. I'm actually seeing this happen at Spring Grove. We use the Springboard as well, in that they're getting better at using the curriculum as intended. So again, I'm seeing movement. Now, are we gonna see a huge change in 1 year's time? No, but I wanna see movement and I wanna see steady growth over time.
I'm hearing really good things about Springboard across the board.
Yeah.
But my concern is, are middle schools on that same level?
We use Springboard.
So, right, and we have
How about our biggest member?
right, so once a month we have a countywide, basically math articulation meeting, and teachers attend that meeting. Our division chair comes with me, administrators, district administrators come to that meeting, and we've talked about all of our different curriculum, and they're using, I can't even think of what it is now, but it is Common Core curriculum as opposed to just the old basic math skills curriculum. We're also working on going back to all of our schools and looking at articulation from grade to grade. So looking at a grade level and saying, this is what we believe at this grade level is absolutely imperative that we teach our students. And this is what we need. So this is what we're guaranteeing we're sending our students on with, as well as really looking at, this is what we need from the prior grades, and then we're getting it or we're not getting it. And the whole room, including the representative of Gatlin College, said, our kids cannot handle fractions, and they cannot do long division.
They cannot add or subtract or multiply.
These are the two things that we're seeing progressively.
But,
So we're having those
but
meetings.
wouldn't it make sense for all of us to use the same curriculum?
Yep.
Well, it would, and I know that Spring Grove has really made a commitment. Judy Bernasky at Spring Grove has been a great job of communicating constantly with the high school, especially for middle school grade students, and making sure that she's preparing her students to attend the San Benito High School District. When you have multiple districts, of course.
So I think that,
you know,
that should
so
really be
having
a foundation of the conversation.
And we're having these conversations.
I just want to cut in, this is probably the inappropriate question. I mean, you asked for a principal's report, if this is a topic we should discuss, we should probably bring it back.
Right.
I'm
gonna write down here.
Yeah, I think it's important that we,
Thank you. We
that
went
we
off
do
topic.
that.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd.
Okay, is there anything else, any questions?
I got a couple more pages. I would.
No, we can't ask anymore.
Comment. Patty suggested she was touting your recognition of college-putting students, and I absolutely agree. But I also would suggest that you also recognize kids that get into any type of trades.
Yeah, exactly.
Any
CTE,
post,
sure.
high school,
ROTC,
yeah,
Yes, sir.
whatever.
We do the armed services, culinary
Yes.
academy.
Okay, is that
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Nice job, Adrian. You've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, we're gonna be under by 10. Trustees reports, L10, any requests for future agenda items? We'll start down there with Patty and work our way down.
In the board minutes prior to, I saw that Mr. Former President Rodriguez had asked about the master plan priorities for Measure U. So that's something that, I'm reading I won't read the minutes, I apologize. So sorry, but they asked for the master plan priorities for Measure U, so thank you, Mr. Lay, I'd like to see them.
So, I'm gonna write this down, it's on my other, to-do list, but when we come back in January, we're gonna schedule, probably an off, Tuesday meeting to reanalyze our priorities, look at what we did with Measure G, and then now infuse Measure U, and then off of that, create the new master plans. So I have that on my to-do list, but I'm gonna write it again, master plan, priority statement, which would be priority.
And then I had another one, I'm so sorry, I'm too bad. So, I understand that the PG&E costs went up, yay, right? So I understand that the teachers are gonna talk about it, but is there a way that we could do a study and see if it's less used, or if, like, after everybody brainstorms how they're going to reduce it, if we show reduction, is just something I'm looking at. I know at the beginning was super hot, let's turn it on, but like now, like, can we see progression on it? Is that a way to, you know what I'm saying? Kind of an idea, maybe quarterly or something, see how it's coming down.
We're working on that very thing. We're having problems with getting our bills though. they put a new meter in on this wing here with a cafeteria, and they haven't been able to read it yet. So we haven't been billed.
So it's free, right?
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah. So we keep contacting PG&E, and in fact, they came out, the representative came out to talk with, to meet us and work with us, but we're still trying to get that information. But we do look at it, we were looking at it monthly, but now.
Well, of course it went up, we have air conditioning, but you know, now everybody's gonna start thinking more about it. Cause I leave lights on in my room and I get it, but like, now that we have to think about it and maybe what's going on.
And I think last time, Trustee Nemi, we talked about, possibly using our ASB students, we call them like energy elves.
That'd be awesome.
And, like when we go on break for, holidays, they go around and they work with an adult, but they go around and they unplug everything. And I'll admit, when I sat in a board meeting and listened to this idea, I rolled my eyes and thought, it's not gonna save us a lot of money. But it does.
It draws energy, anything plugged in draws energy.
Like a charger for an iPhone draws energy, a toaster. We don't think about those.
You have toasters in your classrooms?
No,
Totally kidding.
we may. Tannenbaum, you got the.
We may.
Current, what's going on here?
We may have the George Foreman to everything.
The big one though is Mr. Ramirez's hot tub, therapeutic purposes.
So, anything else?
That is it, thank you.
Mr. Blado.
Okay, I thought this resolution should be looked into and studied.
I didn't get a copy.
Yeah, do you want me to give you mine?
I wondered.
Then the neighborhood advisory committee should be looked at.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The neighborhood advisory committee that was suggested at, I think at the city council, that was on the minutes, and I think President Rodriguez brought it up, that we should really look at establishing that. The world languages survey, I'd still like to see a survey going out, see, hey, is French really the language, and Spanish, let's see what they have. We should keep an eye on district elections, continue to keep that eye, because that might surprise us. Student board member, I'd really like to see us.
I don't know what district election means.
Well, you know that, we had that presentation by, Lulac, and, they were talking about going to district
coming back
elections.
in January?
They're coming back in to give a presentation.
So we should probably plan for that in January.
If I may, I know everybody's tired. There's a new legislation that just came out that January 1st goes into effect, where if a lawsuit is brought forward or a threat of a lawsuit is brought forward by an entity like SBAC, I'm just making this up, just so that I don't name something.
That's good.
We as a district can only be charged up to $30,000, where before, if we fought it or if we were found non-compliant, that amount could be significantly larger. So essentially what we're being told by our law firm now is if a threat is credible threat, I hate to use the word threat, but somebody's bringing a lawsuit forward to go to district elections, do it, it's gonna cost you $30,000 instead of fighting it, and they cost you $400,000.
Good.
But we'll have that it's already, I just met with the lawyer at CSPA, and it's ready to rock and roll when we get back.
Good. And then, of course, the student board member, I want to keep that on the front burner, that we should have somebody here every time. And, link crew committee, I think a link crew committee should be set up so we can maybe utilize that group as much as possible to find out kids that are having trouble, just look into it. And maybe later on, we'll put on the agenda to study it in terms of what link crew can do that would be cost effective, because we don't have to hire a teacher to do that. And of course, the calendar, I didn't see the calendar that was, this one right here, was it in our packet this time, or was it left out?
It was left out this thing.
Okay.
I didn't want to publish it
Okay,
because I
good.
wasn't sure about the board meeting.
Because if it was gonna be left out, then I'd like, maybe I'll just keep one in my jacket pocket. That's it.
Yeah, I have a couple of just questions more than anything else. Can you give us a status report on your negotiations with Sunny Slope relative to that easement?
Yes, I met with Janet Mueller at CSBA, and we are in the middle of scheduling a, lack of better words, negotiations meeting with Sunny Slope to set up an MOU or set up an agreement as to how they're going to access our land and work with the county so that the pipe is directly under the access road that they're building. And I also met with Councilmember Clower to get some clarification as to how they're working with Sunny Slope, the city, so that we're all on the same page, and I think we are. Now it's just the hard work of getting the agreement drawn up and the MOU drawn up, and that's something that we'll work on right when we get back in January and February, because they've scored and they're starting to survey for that bypass road, and it has to go under that bypass road because it'll keep it out of our way.
So, but the big question is how much they're willing to pay us, or how much we can negotiate.
They have offered, if you remember, $40,000 in
So,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So that's still under discussion.
Yeah. What Roseanne said, we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to invite Mr. DeLay to that meeting.
So next, similar question, where do we stand with respect to the tennis courts and city or county?
That I have not had time to work on, but I will make it a priority when we get back in January.
Okay, and then I guess finally, because of a couple of our previous board members that would always bring this up, where do we stand with respect to our board policies? Because for a while there we were getting reports on those all the time, but
can we review them?
So it's 4 phone calls and 6 email messages I have yet to get a reply.
Just called today. I knew that would come up
I called today and emailed today.
So we're basically waiting to hear back from
CSBA.
Okay.
But they have them, and maybe it'll be a Christmas present.
And we would be updating them a couple every meeting or something? Can we do that?
It'll be
when they come?
It'll be the board's pleasure if you want to do a mass adoption or do.
Well, mass adoption, but maybe renew them in case they need to be, because eventually
CSBA,
they're going to cycle through and need to be renewed.
CSBA will give us, being a member of the program, will give us updates as they change, and then we'll adopt those.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. But when this massive stack comes back,
not that. I meant like the.
You'll have to tell me how you want to adopt them.
No.
Yeah, but no, they periodically, like the district being one, a lot around LGBTQ, transgender restrooms, all that stuff that's been changing.
It would be highly beneficial, like in personnel, take all the 4,000s and do them at once. Because then I know what year they've all been adopted, and I know what legislation and code revisions are in there. So when I go back through, I can pull all the 16, 17s or 17, 18s just as a suggestion. I don't know if the other ones are like that. I know mine are. And they really affect the different aspects of personnel. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Tiffany.
Thank you.
Yes. So at the last board meeting, I was an audience member, but there was a question about the Prop 51 funds update, and I think your reply was that Mr. Bella was at a conference and was going to get an update. So I'd like to keep that on the list to find out where we stand with the Prop 51 funds.
Okay.
Master plan was on my list, which I taken care of. New market tax credit. I want to pursue that $3-4 million vigorously. So whatever we need to do, let's do it.
Okay.
And then,
excuse me, on that one though, it seemed like to me that at a recent meeting, you, John, and maybe a couple other people were going to, I think Roseanne, you were going to kind of look into the subject from school perspective and then report back to us rather than just, before, we wanted to hear your perspective or school's perspective before inviting back the, you know, the rep of the company that presented to us before.
Well, I don't want to speak for Roseanne, but what we did is we tried to schedule 2 meetings, and we just weren't successful in getting folks there. But we'll keep Roseanne, I mean, what is our next plan of attack? Same, right? Let's try to schedule a meeting with John and Steve.
Join us instead of, since Ray's.
Right.
Yeah.
And get our understanding,
right,
you know, kind of put together in our mind before we bring it back.
And I've asked the question, and I don't think a school district has done any market tax credit, but they're not precluded from doing one. So there are quite a few firms, for example, that Nathan from Tossing has worked with that would be happy to, you know, give a reference and what have you. But it's going to be a redevelopment agency, a city, a county, and there's some private companies that have qualified for them as well. So there's no real restriction on who can qualify for one. It can be a public agency, it can be a private company. Right? So, but I haven't found anybody that knows of a school district that has gone through the process yet. We can be the first.
$4 million,
right?
So it's certainly worth pursuing. So I want to do that. One last thing is more of a comment, but I've been speaking to a gentleman who is at Presentation High School in Santa Clara, San Jose, wherever they are, their middle school up there. And 12 years ago, when they built their new pool, they put in a natural gas burning cogeneration plant. And they've watched their electric bill, their net energy bill plummet. He calculates that they're saving $12,000 to $14,000 a month, and it sounds like Bellarmine is now going to do the same thing. And this is $12,000 a month for a school of 800 students, right? So we're a lot bigger than that. So he's invited us up there to not only look at the plant, but more importantly, he has a spreadsheet and numbers sheet, and he wants to sit us down with his spreadsheets to show us where the savings come and how he's realized those over the past 12 years. And so I'm going to be planning a field trip to go see him, and I'll, when I get it figured out when it's going to be, I'll extend that invitation to the 4 of you as well, and anybody that would like to go should go and check it out. 10 minutes on it.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And someone wanted to pull, I remember who it was.
Me. That was
okay.
31.
You wanted to explain something on it?
Yes. The contracts contain the dollar amount written out in words and then the dollar amount in numbers. The word is not correct. It says not to exceed $1,800, but it should say 4,675. And then there was a date on there that was incorrect also.
222 is not that. Yeah.
The words don't match the numbers.
And then the date, the time frame of the contract was not correct.
So what are you recommending we do?
I
We don't want to approve it tonight if it's not. We don't want to approve it tonight probably if it's not correct. Do we want to? You want to revise it and bring it back, or?
Okay, I have a revised one, but I didn't.
Is it time sensitive?
I don't know, Cindy. I don't think so because the trip is in February.
If you brought it back in the first one in January.
Yeah, I can bring it back in January.
I think that's probably better. Unless okay.
It's the migrant trip.
Small correction so we can approve it on page 2.
But it's still. I mean, I tell Roseanne knows her, she can do it.
No, this is something else. I just noticed that if it doesn't get approved, we're going to be approving a girls' soccer team participating in a softball tournament.
What page are you on?
252. Can we just cross out soccer and put softball?
Where?
In the middle where it says educational objective.
Oh, there you go.
Softball, okay. just so we are all on the same
You are good.
Not good.
I didn't even see that, and I read it.
Yeah, we're.
Little words.
There you
I
go.
didn't even see that. It's the itty bitty letters in the middle of the page, and then huge.
So,
and then
would you make a motion, Mr.?
That's,
To approve the list, or?
This, the change.
Yeah, I move that we approve this change to softball on page 252, is that all right?
Second.
yes?
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then let's take the rest of them and I get a motion for approval. I move adoption.
I second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yahoo.
And yes, second. Oh.
And our next meeting is January 3rd, 10th. And can I get a motion for adjournment? Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Congratulations, you guys. First one.
John, we made it.
I am disappointed with the 14.
I have to be the first yes person forever. No wonder you guys stuck me here.
They'll be short next time.
If you can tell me to say yes at the beginning of the day, and then you have it never gotten it. I finally did. Did you?
I'll say yes.
Oh, God bless you. You can't blame new board members.
Oh, yes.